Hope. It dreams big, like really, really big. Hope sees potential when others don't. Whoa! And it can see the future. Hope is the boss of its money, but it knows what really matters. Hope is day one. Hope is everywhere you look. At Bank of Hope, we have the tools, guidance, and you got it, hope for whatever you want to achieve. So come in. Welcome to Bank of Hope.
AGM은 미국 내 최고 수준의 학자금 재정 프로그램과 아이비 대학 연구진의 ARIP AI 인공지능 인턴십 프로그램을 운영하고 있습니다. 아이비 출신의 최고 강사진이 직접 지도하는 과외 프로그램과 글로벌 리서치 프로그램으로 자녀의 성적 향상을 책임집니다.
미주 최초로 자체 개발한 고객관리 시스템과 1,900개 대학 이상의 각종 데이터베이스를 여러분과 공유하겠습니다.
지금 바로 웹사이트에 방문해보세요. 자녀의 미래가 달라집니다.
My name is Ryan. I am a director of A1 College Consulting. High school students have a very hard time putting their application together. It can be very intimidating to find what they want to study. First, we start with analysis. Second, personal development. Lastly, we at A1 College Prep help students with the application A through Z.
My primary goal for coming to C2 was to maximize my SAT and ACT. C2 helped me get into the program that I want and fulfill my dreams of becoming a doctor.
전문적인 리서치와 차별화된 접근 방법, 이경희 이민법 변호사, 투자이민의 EB5의 풍부한 경험에 이경희 변호사와 체계화된 멘토 시스템으로 철저히 교육받은 직원들이 여러분의 이민법 케이스를 도와드립니다.
이경희 변호사 사무실은 한 번 맡은 케이스는 끝까지 책임집니다. 항상 세밀하고 정확한 일처리로 고객분을 성심껏 도와드리겠습니다. 저희 사무실을 믿고 맡겨주시면 여러분의 케이스를 성공으로 이끌겠습니다.
투자이민 전문 이경희 이민법 변호사.
Hope. It dreams big, like really, really big. Hope sees potential when others don't. Whoa! And it can see the future. Hope is the boss of its money, but it knows what really matters. Hope is day one. Hope is everywhere you look. At Bank of Hope, we have the tools, guidance, and you got it, hope for whatever you want to achieve. So come in. Welcome to Bank of Hope.
AGM은 미국 내 최고 수준의 학자금 제정 프로그램과 아이비 대학 연구진의 ARIP AI 인공지능 인턴십 프로그램을 운영하고 있습니다. 아이비 출신의 최고 강사진이 직접 지도하는 과외 프로그램과 글로벌 리서치 프로그램으로 자녀의 성적 향상을 책임집니다.
미주 최초로 자체 개발한 고객관리 시스템과 1,900개 대학 이상의 각종 데이터베이스를 여러분과 공유하겠습니다.
지금 바로 웹사이트에 방문해 보세요. 자녀의 미래가 달라집니다.
My name is Ryan. I am a director of A1 College Consulting. High school students have a very hard time putting their application together. It can be very intimidating to find what they want to study. First, we start with analysis. Second, personal development. Lastly, we at A1 College Prep help students with the application A through Z.
My primary goal for coming to C2 was to maximize my SAT and ACT. C2 helped me get into the program that I want and fulfill my dreams of becoming a doctor.
전문적인 리서치와 차별화된 접근 방법, 이경희 이민법 변호사, 투자이민의 EB5의 풍부한 경험에 이경희 변호사와 체계화된 멘토 시스템으로 철저히 교육받은 직원들이 여러분의 이민법 케이스를 도와드립니다.
이경희 변호사 사무실은 한 번 맡은 케이스는 끝까지 책임집니다. 항상 세밀하고 정확한 일처리로 고객분을 성심껏 도와드리겠습니다. 저희 사무실을 믿고 맡겨주시면 여러분의 케이스를 성공으로 이끌겠습니다.
투자이민 전문 이경희 이민법 변호사.
Hope. It dreams big, like really big. Hope sees potential when others don't. Whoa! And it can see the future. Hope is the boss of its money, but it knows what really matters. Hope is day one. Hope is everywhere you look. At Bank of Hope, we have the tools, guidance, and you got it, hope for whatever you want to achieve. So come in. Welcome to Bank of Hope.
AGM은 미국 내 최고 수준의 학자금 재정 프로그램과 아이비 대학 연구진의 ARIP AI 인공지능 인턴십 프로그램을 운영하고 있습니다. 아이비 출신의 최고 강사진이 직접 지도하는 과외 프로그램과 글로벌 리서치 프로그램으로 자녀의 성적 향상을 책임집니다.
미주 최초로 자체 개발한 고객관리 시스템과 1,900개 대학 이상의 각종 데이터베이스를 여러분과 공유하겠습니다.
지금 바로 웹사이트에 방문해 보세요. 자녀의 미래가 달라집니다.
My name is Ryan. I am a director of A1 College Consulting. High school students have a very hard time putting their application together. It can be very intimidating to find what they want to study. First, we start with analysis. Second, personal development. Lastly, we at A1 College Prep help students with the application A through Z.
My primary goal for coming to C2 was to maximize my SAT and ACT. C2 helped me get into the program that I want and fulfill my dreams of becoming a doctor.
전문적인 리서치와 차별화된 접근 방법, 이경희 이민법 변호사, 투자이민의 EB5의 풍부한 경험에 이경희 변호사와 체계화된 멘토 시스템으로 철저히 교육받은 직원들이 여러분의 이민법 케이스를 도와드립니다.
이경희 변호사 사무실은 한 번 맡은 케이스는 끝까지 책임집니다. 항상 세밀하고 정확한 일처리로 고객분을 성심껏 도와드리겠습니다. 저희 사무실을 믿고 맡겨주시면 여러분의 케이스를 성공으로 이끌겠습니다.
투자이민 전문 이경희 이민법 변호사.
Hope. It dreams big, like really big. Hope sees potential when others don't. Whoa! And it can see the future. Hope is the boss of its money, but it knows what really matters. Hope is day one. Hope is everywhere you look. At Bank of Hope, we have the tools, guidance, and you got it, hope for whatever you want to achieve. So come in. Welcome to Bank of Hope.
Welcome to the 13th Korea Times College Expo. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. We are so excited and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Jenny Wheatley and I am the president of the Admission Masters. I'm so excited to be your host for the next few hours. We have listeners from all over the world today, internationally, joining us today, which is why we are hosting this year's Korea Times College Expo, the comfort of your own homes, virtually once again, so that everyone around the world will be able to listen. The Korea Times College Expo has grown to be the largest college expo for the Korean community, where you can receive the most up-to-date information on college admissions, financial aid, extracurricular activities, all things college admissions and high school planning. And we're so excited to bring that to you guys today. With college admissions becoming increasingly challenging, I really hope today's seminars will provide a comprehensive understanding of the college admissions process. You're going to learn everything from the UCs to private schools, once again, financial aid and extracurricular activity planning. And I hope you can get as much information as possible that will help you plan your college admissions journey. I want to start by thanking our main sponsor, Admission Masters, for making this year's event possible. And I'd also like to thank ivorywood, AGM Institute, A1 College Prep, and C2 Education. Supporting this year's event is also 이경희 변호사, Pavo World, 화랑 청소년 재단, and 한국어 진흥재단. Once again, we're so excited to be bringing this year's Korea Times College Expo to your homes virtually. Just a quick few notes before we get started. This is currently live on YouTube. Yes, this is live. So make sure you tell your friends and family to join us right now. You can go to www.koreatimes.com/webinar. You will be entered into our raffles if you had already registered before coming to today. You can also find the expo at 미주 한인일보 College Expo on YouTube as well. We have 5 incredible speakers lined up for you today who will be bringing you up-to-date, hot-off-the-press information and topics on college admissions and financial aid. You're more than welcome to ask questions. If you guys are on YouTube right now live, you can chat us any questions that you have, and I will choose a few from the list, and I will ask them to our speakers and have them answered during the Q&A session at the end of each seminar. For those of you who are joining us today live and you already signed up through the website that I mentioned earlier, you will be entered into our lottery. All of our speakers have wonderful gifts to give today, and we have a lot of giveaways, so stay tuned. We're so excited to bring that to you guys today. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and start the 13th Korea Times College Expo. Yay! Right after this short commercial break. So stay with us. Go to the bathroom really quickly, get ready to hear from our wonderful speakers, and we'll be right back after this commercial break. See you soon.
Hope. It dreams big, like really, really big. Hope sees potential when others don't. Whoa! And it can see the future. Hope is the boss of its money, but it knows what really matters. Hope is day one. Hope is everywhere you look. At Bank of Hope, we have the tools, guidance, and you got it, hope for whatever you want to achieve. So come in. Welcome to Bank of Hope.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm your first speaker, and I'm so excited to be sharing it with you guys today. My name is Jenny Wheatley. Once again, I am the president of Admission Masters, and as you can see from my bio, former UCLA and Hopkins admissions, Harvard Admissions Summer Institute, Masters in Education, went to UCLA for my bachelor's, NACAC, HECA, and MBTI certified, and I'm also a Teach for America alumni. Today, I am so excited to bring to you guys UC admissions information. So I'm sure a lot of you guys who are living in California, not even living in California, are excited to start applying to the UCs. And I want to talk about University of California admissions and some strategies. Also, there's some changes in terms of admission rates and kind of things what college admissions are looking for at UCs. So I want to help you guys go into that. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm super excited. Okay. So before I start, I want to tell you a little bit about Admission Masters. We are named the #1 educational consulting organization. We have a team of former admission officers from colleges around the nation. We are the leader in boarding school and college admissions, and we use a team approach. So for us, what's really important is that every student has different needs, right? They have different strengths and different weaknesses. Everybody's goals and expectations are also very different too. And so we have counselors who have different experiences and expertise. We have counselors who wanted to be doctors or who are doctors. We have physicians and engineers. We have scientists, right? Research experts, all of these different people, we work together to help our students. So we have a team approach. And like I said, education is not a one size fits all. So we definitely have a more personalized program. You guys can see the QR code on the screen, and you're more than welcome to click on that to check us out. We have a podcast, we have a YouTube, we have all sorts of things for you guys to check out. So click on that to check us out. Okay, so let's get started. UC admissions results. This is actually super hot off the press, by the way. Fall 2022 results that just came out. UC's just released them more recently. And you guys can kind of see, I wanted to really highlight actually what the admissions results were for the different UC campuses, but also the overall admissions rate, how that compares to in-state admission rates, how that compares to out-of-state admission rates, and international. I think you guys can see overall that generally speaking, in-state California admission rates remain the highest for most UCs, particularly UCLA and UC Berkeley. California acceptance rate 9.2% and 14.5% for LA and Berkeley respectively. And then you'll also see with other schools, right, like even UC San Diego, it's like 0.1 higher for in-state. But then you'll see some other schools where out-of-state and international students could have a little bit more of an advantage. So in particular, you can see at UC Merced, for example, they actually accepted a lot of international students. You'll notice that Santa Cruz and Riverside and even Santa Barbara accepting up to 21.5% international students, 36.6% out-of-state students. All of these, which kind of show us, I know some of you who are not living in California were like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get into UC school? It's so hard to get accepted. But you can see that a lot of these colleges actually do accept students outside of state and internationally as well. So don't worry. And I'm also going to give you guys tips today on how to get accepted into the UC. So stay tuned and I'll give you guys more information about that. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into the implications of UC admissions. So start with applications. Number one, applications are going to remain very high for the fall 2023. So if you're a student that's a senior right now and you're going to apply next year, or actually this fall, right? For this fall, you're going to apply in November. Applications are going to be at an all-time high. It's just going to remain high. Specifically with test blind admissions to the UCs, right? Fall 2023 cycle, all of the UC admissions have said, you know, we expect high volume to remain elevated. Out of state. So though shrinking in terms of UCs trying to focus on California in-state applicants, pockets of opportunity for out-of-state applicants and international applicants still exist, like I showed you in the chart right before. Not all campuses have reached their non-resident enrollment cap, so it's really important for you to keep that in mind for those of you who are not listening in California, that there are still pockets of opportunities in these colleges. Some advantages, admission rate advantages are most prominent at UC Davis, UC Irvine, and Santa Cruz. So if you are a student who is very interested in applying to UCI, UCD, and SC, they have decided admission rate advantages persist specifically for out-of-state and international students. So as I showed you guys earlier, it's important to understand that a lot of the UCs, they do want to focus on California in-state students, but at the same time, they are focusing on trying to increase enrollment for out-of-state and international students. And the three schools that really do that, UCI, Davis, and Santa Cruz. So good information to know in general. I also wanted to bring one more thing to your attention before I go into the strategies. So first and foremost, I feel like a lot of students have mentioned on multiple occasions that, you know, Asian Americans always have a disadvantage, particularly, I'm sure if you're listening to Korea Times seminar today, you'll notice that there are a lot of, Asians who feel that there were disadvantages in terms of college admissions, whether that be at UCs or other colleges as well. But I wanted to show you this chart as we compare 2020 and 2021, because Asians remain one of the highest populations of acceptances for UC schools. In particular, in general, 29.68% of admits at UCs happen to be Asian. Of course, that's followed by Hispanic, 26.04%, international, 15%, white, 21%, African-American, 5%. But generally speaking, Asians are still the highest number of applicants to be, percentage-wise, to be admitted. So I thought this was really interesting, not to say that, it's still very competitive for Asian American students in general, but I still wanted to kind of show you guys that colleges are doing their best to try to balance that out a little bit. And because there's a lot of really amazing Asian students and other students in general, but amazing Asian students out there, I feel like they're still, accepting a good percentage and a good amount of Asian students. Okay, let's dive into UC admissions and GPA. So UC GPA, as you guys can look at the chart, this is the average GPA admitted. Now, this average GPA is based on the UC GPA. So if you don't know what your UC GPA is, basically you have to convert the letter grades earned in all A through G courses between summer after 9th grade through summer after 11th grade to grade points. So an A is 4 points, a B is 3 points, C is 2 points, D is 1 point. Pluses and minuses actually don't count for the UC admissions, and for most colleges, pluses and minuses don't count. But in any case, this is the UC GPA. If you're not sure what your UC GPA is, I did put a link at the very bottom where you can calculate your UC GPA, but you can also go to your high school counselor and just ask, hey, what is my UC GPA? And they'll be able to calculate that for you, which is why you'll see higher numbers, because a lot of those weighted courses are in 10th and 11th grade as well. And that's what you'll see here. So UCs will be looking at your 10th and 11th grade and converting that specifically with the A through G requirements, which are like English, science, math, history, art, and language requirements. So you'll go ahead and see that through the A through G requirements. Okay. So let's dive in. What are UCs looking for, Jenny? What is it that they want to see? There's three main things that I feel like really gets weighed in the UC admissions process. The first is academics, particularly rigor, grade trends, and your UC GPA. And then your activities, in specific, your commitment, your leadership, and impact. And then what UCs call the essays are the personal insight questions, which will be your personal story, your resilience and compassion, and your intellectual curiosity. So I'm going to go through each of these right now, and I'll tell you guys a little bit more about what that looks like. So let's start with academics. You want to look at your academic GPA, consider your UC GPA, particularly your 10th and 11th grade. It's 8 semesters of weighted courses only. So if you have more than that, it actually doesn't get counted into your UC GPA. And I have students who ask me, Jenny, is that bad? If I have more than 8 and they don't get counted, then like what actually is my weighted GPA and which ones do I count? Those are all really good questions. Ultimately, UCs still ask for every single grade from even 8th grade if you took math like algebra and geometry and Spanish or language requirements, all the way until your 12th grade in terms of what courses you're going to be taking. So even if the UC GPA is calculated as 10th and 11th grade, they'll actually see everything, right? They'll see the rigor of the courses that you took throughout your high school journey. So even if it's not calculated as part of the actual GPA, they'll still see it, which is so powerful. I would say ultimately for UC admissions, your academics hold 50% of the weight of your admissions. UCs are going to be considering that. And so I just kind of pulled out a common data set here. For academics, they consider that to be very important, which is your GPA and the rigor of your high school record. your courses that you're going to be taking. They do not consider the class rank, so you don't need to really be worrying about that. While UC GPA only calculates 10th and 11th grade, like I said, they'll see all of your grades and courses from 9th to 12th grade. I would definitely recommend that you start planning your courses early so that they're aligned with your major related interests, right? They want to see that you have interest in the major direction that you want to go into. And so making sure that your courses align with that is important. And it shows your ability to improve each year. I have so many students who always tell me, Jenny, I didn't do so well my freshman year. I didn't do so well my sophomore year, so on and so forth. But I always tell students that it's completely fine that that is the case as long as you show improvement over time. So if you're showing improvement over time and you're showing the strength of your courses and how they're going throughout the time period, then you'll be fine and you don't have to worry too much about your application and academics. Okay, let's go into activities. So for the UC application, they have a space for 20 activities and awards. So altogether, activities and awards, 20 total. This includes your awards, your summer programs, even additional courses that do not go in through your A through G category, or they're courses that you took at a summer program. Those could be included in this activity section. So 4 strategies and 4 things that I would like you to keep in mind. Number 1 is your commitment. The duration of your activities matter. So are you doing your activities for 1 year, right? If it's a summer program, obviously it's just 1 summer, but are you doing your activities for a longer period of time? Are you doing it for, all 4 years of high school? Did you do it for 3 years once you figured out what your major was? What does that look like in terms of duration? And that does matter for college admissions. Leadership. It's not the quantity of your leadership positions. Like, I don't need to know that you have 10, 12, 15 leadership positions, but it's actually the quality of those positions. What are you doing as a leader? I talk about this a lot in a lot of different types of seminars too, and the different ways in which you can show leadership. I think one of the biggest thing with leadership is the impact that you had, whether that be on the members of your club, right, or organization, or in a larger community, in your high school, or even beyond that, right, in your city, or even beyond that, right, your state or nationally as well. I think the larger the scope of impact, the better. But also, if you are someone who is very interested, I have a student who is interested in the health field, right? They want to be a doctor, they want to be a physician, and the student was very, very passionate about helping people in Argentina. And specifically because they grew up in Argentina and they saw what healthcare systems were like in Argentina. They wanted to do what they can to support people in Argentina. And so they created an organization and they donated a bunch of COVID related stuff. They also created a campaign to provide free pediatric care to people in Argentina and to children in Argentina. And that really aligned with what they were passionate about. So your leadership is not just a matter of, oh, I'm the president of this club, or I'm vice president of this club, or treasurer, or secretary, or any of those. It's also, what did you do in that position? You can be a secretary, but as a secretary, what difference did you make is a really big, important thing for college admissions. So leadership and impact, I would say those kind of go hand in hand. It's not just a leadership position, it's the level of impact that you're going to be having in those leadership positions and in your activities. If it's not a leadership position, just the impact that you have in the activities itself is also important. The last one is the uniqueness factor. Unfortunately, in college admissions, a lot of students apply very similar backgrounds, right? They all have really good grades, or they have, certain GPAs. They have very similar extracurricular activity pursuits, things like that. Especially if you live in the same city or the same district, you might have similar things as your peers. So what you do to stand out, how do you make yourself more unique and stand out based on your activities is also going to be something that's super important. So choosing those activities to show that uniqueness, that strength, and that difference that you make. Here is why I differ from this student and that student in my same school is an important thing to think about when you're building your activities. Okay, the personal insight question. So the UC personal insight questions, there are 8 questions for the UC essays. If you are a senior right now and you are working on your UC essays, I know admission master students right now, we're working very hard on our UC essays and kind of have completed them for a lot of my students. You're choosing 4 of these 8. If you are a transfer applicant, you can look at that bottom portion over there, but generally you are choosing 4 from the first 8 questions. All of these questions, I think the biggest impact that you can have in your essays is to stay away from talking solely about academic accomplishments or just accomplishments in general. If you think about the UC essay questions, each question should be another layer of understanding you as a person, your characteristics, your interests, your life story, right? All of these things should be embedded, so you shouldn't repeat the same thing for all 4 essays that you write. If you talked about soccer, being a captain for the leadership, then don't talk about soccer again for your greatest talent or skill. Like I said, every one of these essay questions should be a different layer. It should be like an onion, and I'm peeling different pieces about you to better understand you as well. Okay, moving into the personality traits that college admissions is particularly looking for with UCs, I've kind of designed this graph so that I can show you what this would look like. So through your personal insight questions, you should be conveying a lot of different personality traits and characteristics about yourself, in addition to your story and your narrative that will allow admissions to better understand you, not just as an applicant, but really as a person. You have to think about in the college application, there are many things that the admissions are going to see about you. They're going to look at your grades. They're going to look at partially your AP test scores, right? They're going to look at your extracurricular activities and awards. They're going to look at, even family related information will be in the UC application. But a really important thing for admissions to be able to see is beyond that part. Beyond that application, what is it about you that they can understand, right? I usually tell my students that the essays are like the zippering up of a jacket, right? Your jacket is kind of loose, you have these moving pieces. The essays zip it up nicely and bring it all together so that admissions can have a full picture and a full story about you. So some of the characteristics that they want to see, and you'll see some of these are weighted a little bit heavily or heavier than others. Growth, impact, and curiosity are the 3 things that I talked about earlier, and those are really important. How you grew as a person as you moved forward, right? Like how you grew as a person from your beginning of your freshman year to where you are now. The impact that you had on your community and your curiosity. That could be intellectual curiosity or like a hobby that you have that you're super curious about. They also want to see creativity, contribution, your talents, your challenge, if you had a challenge that you had to overcome, and your compassion. I think from these, like growth, impact, curiosity, compassion, talent, and contribution do tend to be very valuable and something that college admissions would really like to see. And this is really not just for UC admissions. I've worked at admissions at a lot of different colleges, and I feel like similarly speaking, these were things that college found valuable in understanding a student's characteristics. I see some good question, Eugene. I'll get to your question in a moment towards the end. Here are some miscellaneous factors that college admissions are also looking for as well. I think it's really important to kind of see that a lot of colleges have different factors that they consider, right? And this is what I'm just going to show you for the UCs. And this is one particular UC, by the way, UCLA. So it's not, every UC could have slight differences, but when we work in college admissions, we get this chart where we look at the students' applications, but we also kind of see the weighted factors a little bit differently. So as you guys know, UCs don't interview. They do have a regent interview. If you do get Regent scholars, they will have a Regent interview, but generally they will not have interviews for students. So private schools, they do have interviews, post-application interviews, and some have pre-application interviews, but UCs don't have that. They find extracurricular activities to be important. They find your talent and ability to important. So what goes into a talent and ability? So it's something that you as a student feel like stands out from other people, right? So if you have a talent in music, then hopefully your musical talents are shown through your applications. You have a lot of awards, or you have, YouTube videos about yourself playing or performing. You're playing at really big organizations like NYO. That shows talent ability, and they find this to be important. And then UCs absolutely find character and personal qualities to be important. I would say this is a really big part in all college admissions. UCs specifically, as I showed you guys on the previous slide, academic is very important to them. And then all of these other things, they would say important. But you'll see later, when Marie talks about Ivy Leagues too, Ivy Leagues find character, personal traits, extracurricular activities, interviews, all of these things to be very important. So there's a little bit of a difference when it comes to UC public schools and then private schools and Ivy League admissions as well. But anyway, character and personal qualities are still considered to be very important. Now, UCs also consider these miscellaneous factors. If you're a first generation college student, right? First in your family to go to college. Geographical residence. Yes, where you live, where you are located, your residence. That's why in the UC application, they actually now have a spot that says state of residency, right? They want to see that you lived in California for 3 years because for tuition purposes also, but they want to see that as well. So your geographic resident and your state residency is considered, as you guys saw in that first chart when I first brought the chart to you guys in the very beginning, and I showed you California in-state applicant acceptance rate, and I showed you out-of-state acceptance rates and international acceptance rates as well. You'll notice that we do find a difference in the acceptance rate of geographical residents and state residents and in-state, out-of-state, international residents as well. So that's something that you should consider. And then they also consider volunteer work and work experience to be important. I saw a UC admissions officer the other day, and we were talking about how many more students are actually experiencing work experience. In fact, of the 30 students that I support, I would say about 7 to 8 of them have some sort of job or work experience. Carnegie Mellon, I know I'm talking about UCs, but Carnegie Mellon specifically, they like students who have work experience. They actually consider work experience to be very important. So I think, colleges are starting to find that students who have these professional experiences, and work experience, by the way, are paid specific experiences. But paid internships or paid jobs with work experience is something that a lot of students are doing more and more. And I find that college admissions sees that to be very valuable. And then you'll see the things that they don't consider. Alumni relation. Yeah, UCs really don't care about legacy. Religious affiliation and commitment. Your racial ethnic status. The level of applicants' interest, which is demonstrated interest. Like, did you come visit our school? Did you do a virtual interview? Or a virtual information session, or did you come in person? They don't really care about demonstrated interest. A lot of private schools do though, so I would recommend that you just keep that in mind when you're working on your applications for non-UCs, that you are looking to make sure that you are visiting the schools, if you haven't already, that you're doing virtual information sessions and you're doing college tours and you're doing all of that is also very important. So hopefully this has all been very helpful for you guys in terms of recognizing what that looks like. The best way to predict your future is to create it. This was an Abraham Lincoln quote, and I personally love this quote. And I'll tell you why. I think at the end of the day, when you are thinking about your future, it's your efforts and your level and your desire to create that future. So if you're envisioning right now to go to UCLA, right? What are the steps that you are taking in order to create that future for yourself? And this is where Admission Masters comes in, right? We want to make sure that we're supporting students and making sure that we're helping them create the future that they want. The successes that they want to see and the expectations that they have is where we want to go. And I think when I talk to my students about this specifically, the best way to predict your future is to create it. It's the efforts and the motivation and the inspiration that you have right now, currently. If you're not as motivated and you're not really sure what you want to do, I feel like starting that process early is also something that's really helpful. I want to go into the Q&A session now. I'd like to answer some questions here. I see some Korean questions too. So if you write questions in Korean, I am more than happy to answer them in Korean. 한국말로도 제가 대답을 할 수 있기 때문에 혹시 필요하시면 한국어로 저한테 질문하셔도 괜찮아요. Okay, let's start. Eugene asked, for personal insight questions example, I assume the student chooses one to complete, or do you have to do it all? Oh yeah, so Eugene, what I mentioned is of the 8, you have to choose 4. So 4 of the 8 questions is what you have to complete, and all of them do need to be completed. They're 350 words each. So 4 350-word essays are what you will need to complete. So hopefully that answers your question. Does UCs have early? If not, what else does UCs have? So UCs do not have early. All of their applications are due November 1st to the 30th. And so that's their application window. So you can submit anytime between the 1st to the 30th. It's completely up to you when you submit it. Now, I have students who ask me, if you submit it early, do you get a higher chance of getting accepted? No, not necessarily. UCs, once they receive your application, they'll put it into a file. Statisticians will take a look at it to review your data. And then admission officers actually start the process of reviewing it after the November 30th deadline. Now, what do UCs have? They have something called Regent Scholars. So if you are someone that a UC school really likes, they ask to say, hey, we want to, interview you for the Regent Scholarship, and that would give you scholarship. It'll also give you access to enrolling for courses early. There's a lot of kind of things like that, but they don't have any early. Everybody who's submitting UCs will submit between the period of November 1st to the 30th. What's a good way to show your character personal quality in your essays? This is a really good question. And honestly, I could probably do an entire seminar just on personal qualities and essays, but I can name a couple of ways. Hopefully this is helpful. I think for first, showing your character and personal qualities is to focus on your personal story. So instead of let's start with this. I talked about being a soccer captain earlier. Instead of telling me all the great things that you did as a captain, oh, I did this and this and this, and these are all the experiences that I've had, and listing it as you would in a resume and trying to show as much accomplishment as you can, what I would much rather you do is to start from your challenges or the challenges of the soccer team and what you did as a humble leader to then make a difference. Also, I talked about growth. So maybe your leadership wasn't that great in the beginning, but eventually with time, you develop that leadership. That is actually a way better way to show your characteristics and personal traits than to just list all the things that you did, as a captain. It's not as valuable to just be listing your accomplishments if you're not telling me a story of how you got there in the first place. Ooh, a lot of great questions. Okay, 내년에 UC 지원할 때 한국에서 지원하는 것이 유리하나요? 아니면 미국 학생이 더 유리하나요? 학교마다, UC 학교마다는 그게 좀 다르고요. 솔직히 제가 아까 얘기했듯이 UCI, UC 데이비스, UC 산타크루즈 같은 경우에는 한국 인터내셔널 학생들이 조금 그 학교들한테는 유리한 것보다 그 학교들이 인터내셔널 학생들을 조금 좋아한다고 볼 수 있고요. UC 지원할 때 뭐 한국에서 하든 미국에서 하든 그것보다 visa status, personal residency, if you're green card permanent residency인가 citizen or international visa로 이제 학생으로 온 건가 아니면 if you're actually going to school in Korea 그 부분이 제일 중요하고요. It's not where you apply, it's where you are during your high school career. 그래서 그렇게 생각하시면 될 것 같아요. How are AP scores looked at by the admission counselors? Great questions. So for UC specifically, because UC is test blind and they don't look at the SAT or ACT, I would say your AP scores are important for that reason. The AP scores for college admissions, not just for UCs, for college admissions in general, gives admission officers an idea of your ability to understand what you learned in that class at a college level. So a lot of schools, and I won't name the high schools, but they have grade inflation where students can take AP classes, and when they take the AP classes, their teachers give them A's. Like everybody in the class gets A's, but then on the AP exam they get like 1s, 2s, right? And that kind of shows admissions that maybe there's a grade inflation at their school, or that you don't really understand the concepts of what happened in that AP course. So AP tests are a good way for admission officers to really understand the level of understanding that you have in that college class specifically. Okay, I still have a few more minutes here. Besides course rigor for seniors, does fall GPA of 12th grade matter much for colleges? Okay, so I'll answer for UCs and then I'll answer for the rest of the colleges. The rigor of your senior course does matter. I would also say for students who didn't get great AP scores before or need to get good AP scores, or didn't get great grades in their AP classes, you should opt to take, or you should say that you're going to take the AP exams your senior year. So even not just the courses you take your senior year, but you should also say that you're going to take the AP exams your senior year as well. In regards to do 12th grade grades matter, for fall semester, 12th grade grades will matter for your regular admission colleges that you submit January 1st and later for private schools. For UC schools, you submit your application before your 12th grade grades even come out. You submit November 30th, and I would assume most 12th graders get their grades like in December or January for your first semester. So for those students who have that GPA, your 12th grade first semester will not go in, your grades for 12th grade first semester will not go into college admissions for UCs. It will go in for your January 1st or later private school deadline colleges on the Common App, for example. With that being said, when do your first semester senior year grades matter? Well, when the UC admissions come out end of March and early April, they might have waitlisted you. And one of the contingencies on the waitlist might be, hey, let me know if your grades improved your first semester of your senior year. Some of them might say, let us know, give us updates about how you're doing your first semester of your senior year. And that could also be added to the waitlist file. So it's not over till it's over. Honestly, I say 12th grade, push through, get through it, get good grades, because it can only help you. Getting good grades can help you get off the wait list. Getting good grades can help you, improve your chances for your regular admissions schools as well. So it still kind of matters. A lot of good questions. I still have 3 more minutes. Okay. UC는 weighted GPA로 성적을 계산하나요? Yes, weighted GPA, UC GPA weighted로 계산하고요. weighted 코र्스가 8 semester를 들어갈 수 있어요 from 10th and 11th grade. So it is weighted. If I started a little late with my extracurriculars, leadership and or volunteer, does that make me look less competitive and least likely to get accepted into UC? Oh, great question, Yeon. So depends how late you started, but I have students who started in their junior year. I have students who moved from Korea to the United States their sophomore year, so they couldn't really join clubs or activities until their junior year, and that's completely fine. I think it's more of a matter of, hey, I didn't know what I was really interested in, and then when I found my interest, I really put all of my passions and energy into that experience. That is the most important. So to answer your question in short, Yeon, do you have a less likely chance of getting accepted into UC? Absolutely not. I think at the end of the day, better late than never. So even if you started a little bit later, how much you show to admissions about that would be the most important. Okay, they said I can take one more question. Let's see. Okay, actually, I'll answer this one. This one's really interesting. Do majors matter in terms of admission difficulty? Short answer, yes. There are impacted majors and non-impacted majors per college. For example, a couple years ago, I talked to the Vanderbilt admissions and they told me that Vanderbilt really needed English majors specifically, not this year, but a few years ago. And so if you wrote that you were majoring in English, you had a little bit of a higher chance of getting accepted into Vanderbilt a couple years ago. Now, with that being said, can you just write any major and hope that you get accepted? No, your major has to align with your activities. It has to align with your interests and your passions and your academics. But if it aligns, you want to choose majors that are a little bit easier, more strategic to get into, because it could increase your chances slightly. I would say anywhere between 1 to 3 to 5%, it could increase your chances of admission. So you might want to be strategically thinking about that. For example, business is a competitive major at a lot of colleges. So choosing like economics or statistics could be an easier, a little bit of a less impacted major to get accepted into. Thank you guys for asking all of the questions, by the way. I'm sorry I couldn't get to all of them, but I will try to answer questions on the chat box as the other speakers are speaking as well. So if you have questions and I didn't get to you, then I'll be sure to answer them here. Otherwise, you can always email us at theadmissionmasters@gmail.com and we'd be more than happy to answer questions for you. Hopefully this was really helpful and you guys are learning more about UCs. We have a lot of other really great speakers, but before we go to them, we're going to do our first lottery. So Admission Masters is giving away two students 2 free consultations, one each for 1 hour, so that we can help you plan your college and give you advice. So we are going to choose those 2 right now. Just so you guys know, the people that we're choosing, we basically took the first part of your email address and left out the @ blah.com. So it's just the first part of your ID of your email address. Whatever you use to register for the Korea Times seminar is what we're using. So let's go ahead and choose our first winner of our College Expo. Let's see who it is. I'm so excited. Hopefully you guys are excited too. Soyun T21. Congratulations, you are our first winner. Just so you know, we will reach out to you guys. So you don't have to do anything. We reach out to you and we let you know we have your information and we will set up that meeting for you so you can redeem your free meeting with us. Okay, next person. It's so nerve-wracking. Okay, let's see. Heidi S. Catering. Oh, you're a catering company. Catering, whoever signed up for this person, you are our second winner. And once again, we will be reaching out to you to schedule a meeting with the Admission Masters. Congratulations to our winners. Next up, we have another really great speaker talking about private school admissions, and I will be inviting her shortly, right after this commercial break. We'll see you soon. Bye. Hi guys, welcome back. So I am super excited to introduce our next amazing speaker. She is the Ivorywood Education Advisor and founder. She's the winner of the 2022 Harvard Leadership Excellence Award. She's a Harvard Admissions Office staff and interviewer. She's the founding donor, Harvard Entrepreneurs Crimson Circle, director, Harvard Summer Internship Program, and a Harvard University graduate studying government. She is Marie Kim, and she will be talking about Ivy League Dream College admissions, hidden truths. Let's give her a warm welcome and get started.
Thanks so much, Jenny, for that warm introduction. I appreciate it. All right, let's get started, everybody. My name is Marie Kim, and today's seminar is brought to you by Ivorywood Education. We are the leading providers of leadership development for all your college admissions needs, as well as college admissions advising for those top flight colleges. Today's seminar is Ivy League Dream College Admissions Hidden Truths. A couple of housekeeping items before we get started. So throughout the seminar, you will be hearing some examples that we'll refer to. Clearly, the names and any details have been withheld or changed. If you have any questions, go ahead and enter them in the chat. If you have any questions further than that, you're more than welcome to email us at hello@ivorywood.com. The agenda for today's seminar is really broken up into two main parts. Part one is really for any student, all students from 9th through 12th grade, even younger, to pave the way for dream college admissions. Part two is a little more focused towards those seniors who are currently working on their college applications, as well as some students who may be thinking about transferring their freshman year in college. All right. And very briefly about me, I know that Jenny had mentioned it. A lot of my expertise and experience comes from working with Harvard admissions and Harvard in general. I am very active in the community, even today as an alum. And if you have any questions about Ivy League admissions, please reach out to Ivorywood. Okay, so why are you here? If you're sitting in the audience right now, you want to hear some hidden truths about Dream College Ivy League admissions. So we're going to peel back the curtain a little bit. I know that many of you probably have heard things throughout the years about Ivy League admissions. We see it up close. We see what's actually happening and unfolding as the pandemic continues. And we will share those insights with you. And so it's really for students who are also on track thinking about that, but also the seniors right now. And one of the analogies that we often make at Ivorywood is we like to compare the Ivy League Dream College admissions sort of like training for the Olympics. And the difference is for the Olympics, you're focused on one sport and you work on it for at least 4 or 5 years, probably longer, leading up to those competitive games. With admissions for Ivy League and Dream Colleges, it's not that different. You have to sort of start the journey years in advance. And oftentimes we see students starting as early as middle school and even earlier. And so at the very least, you may want to really be thinking about definitely hitting the ground running since 9th grade. And the difference is you really need to be multifaceted. You need to be exceptional in several components. It requires a whole person development and approach. So we're going to start with part one. There's 5 main topics for this, and I'm going to sort of touch on each of them. Part one is about making a plan. So if you are thinking about Dream College Ivy League admissions, then make a plan. So if you want to get into Stanford or Harvard, then start thinking about how are you going to get there. So you don't just show up one day and it's your 11th grade year and now you're starting to think about it. I mean, if things work out serendipitously and it works out, then that's great. But oftentimes it doesn't. Why? Because throughout high school, you're going to be making a lot of decisions and choices, and all of those require some sort of preparation and planning ahead. And you really sort of need to be thinking about what are the things that I need to gain experience in. You're going to need qualifications for things, but everything, even things that you're encountering right now as you're entering high school, as you think about where you want to go to high school or where you want to apply to college. Every college sort of has their own sort of requirements, and you need to think about what those are and start knocking them out in advance if you even want to be able to apply. So be organized, get the support you need, try to minimize leaving things to chance. These are some plan examples, and you might think that maybe we're taking this to an obsessive level, but if you want to get into these schools that have 5, 4, 3% or less than that acceptance odds, then you kind of need to. So think about what do you want to do for the school year? What are those things you want to achieve between one semester and the next? Think about seasonally. There's going to be deadlines that come around in the winter and the spring for things over the summer. Think about even on the weekly and daily level. Students that we see who are really knocking it out of the park at the highest level in their high schools, they know what they're doing one week to the next. They're planning out their days, they're maximizing their productivity. And that's the mindset that you need to get into if you're trying to get to these Ivy League dream colleges. Okay, so another thing that people don't think about if you want to get into these top tier universities, where do you go to school? What's your environment? Where you spend your time, day in, day out, that's going to influence and shape who you become, your motivation, your opportunities. So if you put yourself in an environment that's supposedly prestigious, but if you start to drown, well, you're not serving your best interest. You need to put yourself in an environment where you're going to be more likely to thrive. And that's not the same for everybody. So we sometimes see people thinking, oh, we just want to get this child into the most prestigious elite boarding school. Well, that's fine for some people who may have, maybe legacy or people who have some extra resources, and they could take full advantage of those opportunities. But some students might fall behind. They might have been exceptional by the time they get to high school, but once they get there, it's not the same story or game. So you need to think about where you end up to be able to succeed there for at least 4 years, because that's the record and track record off of which the colleges are working. And also think about this. As you head into the new school year, think about who you spend time around. So you need to be picky with your time and energy and who you associate with. Because if your friends typically are high achieving, goal oriented, then it's going to elevate your mindset. And you need that going into high school and to sustain that. But if your friends are not that and they're demotivating, or they could even be toxic, well, that could bring you down. And those are decisions that you have to make along the way, even before you get to the application process. Okay, we get this question every now and then. Is it talent or is it hard work that gets students into the Ivy League? People think or have this assumption, oh, only special people who are like really, exceptional at something, they get in. Well, there's some truth to that. Yes, people who have exceptional gifts, whether it's incredible IQs or whether it's a talent in art or sports, yes, those things definitely stand out, but none of it matters if there's no follow through. And that's something you really need to hear out, because that means that if you do have some talent in 8th grade or 9th grade, you need to harness it. You need to do something with it and find ways to test it, to put it out there, and then to keep adding rigor with it, because that's what the colleges are looking for. It's with what you had, what did you do with it? What was the trajectory across the years with what your abilities are? Without follow through, it's kind of useless, and it's a huge missed opportunity. Okay, so piggybacking off of that idea. So even if you may not be exceptional at something, and we get this from people, people come to us and say, their parents will say, well, my child is a great student, good all around, nothing really like stands out. And at that point, you have an opportunity. So especially if it's a little early on in the game and you're in 9th grade, even towards the end of 10th grade, if you decide to focus all your energies into something and commit to it, even though you started off as unremarkable, you can pave the way to become remarkable and ultimately stand out in these applications. So we see people all the time. They're not the most stellar people when you first meet them. Nothing really sort of like, shines. But something about them has this undeniable grit. They just keep showing up, and they just follow through. And through that process, that actually is an attribute that is exceptional. And so that is what ultimately carries them through the ups and downs of high school. And by the time they apply, they do become remarkable. So think about all of you sitting in there right now. If you feel like that may be you, then put in superhuman effort, show up to everything consistently, and you're gonna have a chance. It reminds me of one student. I'm gonna talk about Jensen. Jensen came to us towards the end of 9th grade. He was experiencing bullying and discrimination, racial discrimination, because he goes to and lives in a mostly white area, and he felt invisible on campus, and the only thing on his mind was, let me just get through high school. That was hard enough. And he did one thing, which is tennis. And then on top of that, he was just coasting by on his grades. He wasn't even pushing it academically. And then they came to us, and the father really wanted to give his son the best opportunities. And so from that moment, that summer before 10th grade, he started shifting what his potential could be, right? And so basically, he decided this time I'm really gonna try something different before I head into 10th grade. And so that's what he did. He decided, starting now, I'm gonna do everything I can to learn about sports business. And so he did. And eventually, by the time he was a senior, he was Mr. ASB, Mr. Prom Court, and everybody knew him on campus. He got into his dream college and with a scholarship. So again, what I'm trying to say is you have to take the long view. Okay, so you hear this word a lot, passion. And so you want to understand, well, is that what gets you in? Well, on some level, yes. But there's a big caveat to it. It's not everything. So think about that, right? Passion means you're really excited or you really like something. Well, you can be passionate, but you might not be standing out in it. So if you're not standing out in it and you don't have passion and you don't have something that makes you exceptional, even though you feel strongly about it, then you really need to think about how you're spending your energy and your time, right? So these colleges are looking for passion with exceptionality. So for some people, there are some right and wrong activities. So you need to think about what is the best fit for you to be able to stand out. And one of the examples that I often see people doing in terms of passion is, oh, they really like sports. So for instance, you know, some students want to get involved in lacrosse because it's exciting, it's good for them to meet people, but they're always just going to probably be like a team player. And there's definitely things that you can gain from that. But at the same time, at the end of 4 years, if you don't really have any distinctions in that, you just spent anywhere from 15 to 20 to 25 or even 30 hours per week on a sport that maybe didn't draw out something exceptional from you. So you want to think about that again in the context of college admissions for the Ivies and dream schools. Okay, something people don't really think about. They focus a lot about achievement, but attitude is really everything. So you might be the highest achieving person, but if people don't vouch for you as a person, because you're going to need a lot of recommendations, and you're also just going to need to get through high school, getting along with other people, then that's something you really want to think about. The character and the personality get highly evaluated at this level. And so whether it's your daily attitude about your own sort of motivation to persist in the face of obstacles and to keep going, or just your attitude, the way you might be around other people. So you want to be the kind of person that draws others to you because of your positivity, because you're somebody who lights up an environment, and that's the kind of people that they're looking at these universities. So sometimes we see students who, exhibit, they don't realize it, but they go into their interviews or just on a daily basis, they kind of come off as entitled, a little arrogant. They sort of shut down opportunities when you bring it up to them. Some students actually, I wonder if they're sabotaging their own chances for success. So what do I mean by that? They often get sick or they often get injured. And it's like, well, how did those things happen? Well, they do really risky things that put them in danger. And you need to, again, really preserve the limited resources you have so that if you really want to succeed, all of those things play a role, because if you're out sick, then you're already disadvantaged compared to your peers who are still powering ahead. Keep all of that in mind. All right, now we're in part 2, and we're going to go into the elements that would be more applicable for our seniors who are working on their college apps right now. So here are some truths that you may not have thought about. Okay, in this climate, you need to cast your net wide. So that means if you're reaching for those Ivy League and dream colleges, you need to definitely add more schools in that category and that tier, because you're probably going to get rejected from a lot of them, if not all of them. So pandemic, yeah, maybe 15 colleges was sufficient. You had maybe like 6 reaches, 5 targets, and a couple of scattered likely schools. That's not the way it works now. So you need to find ways to increase your list of reach schools so that you're not sacrificing the quality of it, but you're still finding time to put in quality materials, because you don't know where the acceptances are coming from. And the other thing you want to think about, students always think about what they want, and that's natural, but it's not just where you want to apply. Even though that is definitely a component of your decision, if you're trying to get into these schools, then you also have to look at it from the college's point of view. What are they getting out of you? What are you bringing to them? Not just, oh, I want to apply here, so I'm going to do that. But you could be overreaching some of the schools, let's say for early. And if your goal ultimately is to get into these schools, then you need to really look hard at the strategy and weigh the components that will work in your favor at the final, stage of this process. So just a little bit of like stats here, as some examples. Like when I talk about, what do maybe the schools need? Well, look at MIT and Caltech, right? So if you look at the difference between the number of girls who apply versus boys, there's double boys applying to MIT, and yet they're still accepting pretty much the same number at the end of the process. So it's like, yeah, if you're a female who has STEM potential, you may want to apply to MIT, even though you usually would never have considered it. Plus, it's a hassle. They've got an extra separate application. But still, if you're trying to get into a dream tier university, that's something to keep in mind. Same thing with Caltech. Look at the difference, right? You have like 2.5, almost 3 times as many boys applying than girls, and yet they're accepting almost the same number. So again, for those girls out there who want to be engineers, mathematicians, and go into the STEM field, is something to consider, even though you may not want to really apply, but cast your net wide. A comment about earlies, and an example here is like WashU. They are coming up in the rankings very steadily. But if you look at the difference between early decision and regular decision, you'll see like almost basically 3 times as many will get an early decision. So again, think about the plan. And then let's look at, I wanted to just show you a snapshot of how like the SATs work, right? So a lot of the Ivy Leagues and dream colleges still continue to do the test optional. MIT is one of the schools that I've told you to require the SATs now. And like Caltech doesn't even, you don't even have to submit your scores. But back in the day, Caltech, their average SAT is like 35.5. It's like almost 36. So if you didn't have that range, then you didn't really fit that school's profile. That's different now. So now think about it, if this is a school that you could imagine yourself going to, but you weren't thinking about it, then again, look into other schools that you can add to your list. Recommendations. Okay, so this is actually, a part of Ivy League Dream College admissions that really matters. But for some reason, even though I imagine a lot of students know this, when they come down to it, their behavior doesn't mirror that knowledge. So right now, if you're a senior and you haven't gotten your recommendations from your counselor or your teachers or other recommenders, then listen closely. Typically, most of you are going to get something called a brag packet. It can be a survey or a questionnaire, whatever it is called at your school. There's a series of questions on it, anywhere from 15 to upwards of 60 or more. Those questions are given to you to answer, return to typically to your counselor at your school, who writes your required counselor letter. You know how many students I see every year who don't take these seriously and who think it's just, a chore because there's so many questions? I would say a good 80% or more. And we really have to like crank down on them, like make them realize these are so valuable because your counselors are one more adult individuals who can vouch for you as a person and in context to comparison to the other students at your school. And that's really valuable insight. But you want to get to the Ivy League. And then when you have the opportunity, like with these, you don't put in the same amount of effort. So a student who came to us, his name was Eric. He brought us a brag packet. He had anywhere from like 25, maybe 30 questions he had to answer just for his counselor. That doesn't include the parent brag packet. The parent had to also fill out another 15 or so. So he had to fill out upwards of 40 or more questions. We made sure that every question was answered. By the time it was done, each question took at least half a page. So he was submitting over 20 pages of just a brag packet. These are questions about himself, his goals, things like that. And when he went in for his counselor meeting, the counselor said, wow, you know, in all my years of teaching, I've never seen a brag packet this thorough. I really appreciate the effort. And he came out of that meeting feeling confident that his counselor was going to support him in his Ivy League and Dream College endeavors. And that's what you want. If you put in 30–40% in these opportunities, then don't expect the counselors or teachers to go to bat for you. Even if you put in 100% or 110%, they might put in 70 or 80% because they've got so many things to do besides just your requests. This is a quick example. So parents out there, you will probably get some brag packets as well, surveys you have to answer. And so it's astonishing for us to see parents who have invested so much in their child all these years. They get these. Maybe it's a language barrier thing. Then get somebody to help you translate it. You know, these are not things that you want to just submit haphazardly. So we'll get these brag packets and they'll sort of run it through us first before they send it into the counselor. They'll write 2 sentences. Like my child is hardworking and perseveres and has gotten straight A's and is very dedicated to his or her studies. That says nothing. So you need to sit down and really think about what is going to stand out as you speak about your child. This is, I thought, was done well. One of the parents talked about their child's creativity and analytical skills, even through an example of creating political satire. The kid wanted to go to a school that was known for their political science and foreign affairs. He got into his dream school. I'm not surprised, but I will say this. This example here, kind of a little bit of a stretch, knowing the student, but hey, it worked and the mom was super stoked. And again, you're only going to get as much as you put in. So you really have to go above and beyond. Okay, so let's take a look at just how significant recommendations are, right? Look at Stanford in this left column here, very important. You see that X next to it? Look at the bottom, character and personal quality, same thing, very important. Yale, same thing, very important recommendations, character and personal qualities. So again, why am I saying this? Because you have a chance if you're seniors to make the most of those forms. For underclassmen, okay, really think about those relationships that you build at school and in the community. Princeton, same thing, recommendations, character and personal qualities. I see so many students obsess about their grades, AP scores, and everything else. But when you sit down with them, you can tell they haven't developed their interpersonal skills. All of those things happen over time. MIT, okay, so they say their recommendations are important, but look, the one thing that really matters to them is your character. So you can be stellar in everything else, but if your character and your personal qualities are not vouched for in the other parts of the application, you're probably not going to get in. All right, seniors who are working on activity lists. This is an opportunity to really highlight a theme about what you bring. So again, stop just thinking about what I want. Look at it from their point of view. You may want to put your top 4 activities out of 10, for example, in the Common App. You may want to put all your volunteer stuff because you really do care about that. And you know what? I think it's great that you feel that way. But is it going to make you necessarily stand out? Maybe not. So you have to look through your resume and your activities and curate this activity list so that it really highlights something about you that shows strength, exceptionality, commitment, dedication, but also something distinct. And so there's different ways to sort of like play around with it, but you need to do that and think about it, not just putting in whatever you feel like. Okay, so a lot of people don't also know this. When you get to the section to describe the activities, you'd be surprised how many times we see students putting in stuff like the first two examples in italics. That is the wrong way to do it. So the first one really says nothing. The second one is a description of a student who's president, but they're stating the obvious. Of course, you're going to like represent a chapter and lead meetings. I mean, what does a president do, right? But you're not really showing some unique or memorable impact. If you look at the bottom two lines, that's an example of something that worked. So look at the way the student has included and highlighted the distinctions at the national level with those awards. And then right underneath it, they went and further explained what they worked on, everything from poetry to screenplays to getting exhibited and even drafting a novel. Okay, so every year, we get parents and students saying, oh, like, I'll just go in for the interview. If you're trying to vie to get into the dream colleges and Ivy Leagues, you should prep for the interview. If it didn't matter, because that's sort of the assumption I think people have. If it didn't matter, then why would Harvard tell me to go and do second interviews? So I did interviewing for Harvard nearly 10 years. They would tell me, Marie, you need to meet with this student again. Like, we really need to get to know this person better. So on paper, they might look, accomplished. But then when I sit down with them and I speak with them for about an hour, sometimes it'll end in 15 minutes. Sometimes it'll go over an hour. My job is to glean from them whatever I can about their character. It's not always an easy job, but there have been many students who have broke down in tears in front of me as I've probed about their background. And there are students who, again, revealed stuff about themselves that they wouldn't and didn't in the application. And Harvard cared tremendously about that information. They were so grateful that we were able to find that. And typically a student who didn't do well in the interview, I hardly ever saw them get in. I mean, unless you're an exceptional case. So they do matter. They can get you out of the running. So even if you do a great job, not going to tip the scale in your favor, but it could be enough to get you out of the running. Okay, I'm going to get to essays, and then we're going to be wrapping up very soon. So seniors, you're working on those essays. Okay. When everybody's going right, go left. When everybody wants or is tempted to use the essay to brag about themselves, then do something different. Poke fun at yourself. Be self-deprecating. Those are the very things that you're resistant to doing. You think it doesn't make sense. We've had students who tell us all the time, why would I do that? Well, because there could be some tremendous value in being vulnerable. So if you do it the right way, it can show a side of you that endears you to the readers and also that highlights your personable qualities. We've had all sorts of essays of all different formats get into the Ivy League. Students who wrote an essay, it doesn't even look like an essay, just a rant. Students who talk about God. Students who talk about, again, like a feature that they're embarrassed about, self-conscious. One thing I'll say is, if you have complicated relationships with people in your life, like your family, don't throw them under the bus. This is not the time to do stuff like that. And the last thing, seniors, nothing is as important as a strong finish. The game is just starting. You got to get through the spring. So I know seniors right now, they already have senioritis. They want to take less courses. They want to, like, again, cut some corners. If you do that, then you're not showing the steam and stamina you need to get through to the spring, April and May. There's going to be deferrals, there are going to be rejections, wait lists, and even appeals. So if you want to win this game, then you need to have that firepower through the end. So every year we see students who might get deferred in the first round and the early round, but come spring, they're getting accepted to 10, 15 universities plus the Ivy League. I think the last thing that I want to say is, all right, for the hidden truths, I think I shared a couple of different ways for seniors to really apply it immediately to your applications, but also for the underclassmen who are really sort of paving the way to this one day. And remember, it's the whole person approach. You make it happen. You don't just show up. It necessitates great preparation. You can reach out to us if you need anything. We work with students from all over the world, anywhere from grades 8th to even transfers. All right, thank you so much.
All right, Marie, thank you so much. I feel like this is the first time I actually ever saw you in person.
Oh!
We've been doing seminars together, and I'm like, I see Marie in person. It's so exciting. Anyway, thank you so much for coming, and we had some questions that people kind of threw out there, and I wanted to ask a couple. So the first one was, how do I find my talent? Like, where do I even start? I think you had a story about, kids who come and parents that come, they're like, they don't know what they want to do. What would you recommend a quick, advice for them?
Yeah. Okay. So sometimes other people who work with a lot of students are more capable at maybe spotting your talent because they're able to compare across many different examples of students your age or in your peer group. So I can spot it pretty, it's pretty evident every time, I mean, sometimes I have to do a little bit of digging, but like, let's say students come to us and the parents will say, oh, like I'm trying to figure out what they can be good at. And so I will see a student, after a couple times and I could tell, wow, like they're really good at writing. And then that's what we'll support them with, like writing competitions and getting published and doing research. And then you'll see some students who are really social, like just they're outgoing. They've got sort of that energy around people. So then we'll put them more in leadership because you put those people in like, to study science all day long, like in front of a textbook, and they're going to be actually demotivated. So we take those students and put them again where they're going to thrive. So beyond like having somebody who sort of, has a little bit more of an expert eye, having observed a lot of students, I would say if you don't know, then go out and test it. So if you don't know if you're really good at sports or art or writing, then you need to go and try these opportunities and see how you stand out among peers. So if you start to see that you stand out, that's an indication too.
That's awesome. That's perfect. Hopefully that's helpful for you guys out there. And then another question is, how do I develop a good relationship with a teacher as a 9th grader?
Yeah. Well, so, okay. One of the things that you want to do is always in class, you want to, try to engage in the discussions, or if the teacher offers opportunities for the students to volunteer or answer questions or speak up or has extra credit, that's one way to show engagement. So that's kind of the first step. It's not like you show up and you just start brown nosing your teacher. Like, you don't do that, right? Like, it's got to start from sort of an authentic, organic place where you show that passion for that subject matter. Because I can't imagine any teacher not thinking fondly of a student who loves the subject they're teaching. So like, it's that attitude that you have to demonstrate day in, day out in the class. And then anytime, like you, for example, what we do with students who are like in 9th and 10th grade, they're applying to different opportunities on campus, whether it's like clubs or leadership or even outside of school for community involvement or special programs. Oftentimes those things have like recommendations or things that needs a reference. And that's where sort of you can start building the relationship. So if you have those things and opportunities, then those are ways for you to start conversations with those teachers, maybe in another capacity as well. Again, you want to do that once you're already doing well in the class and you're showing that interest in that subject. And then it's also like, again, some people just have better social skills, and that's something you can work on. And like, sometimes a teacher leaves their classroom open during lunch. You can you can come by. Maybe the teacher is available to just do some small talk with you while you're there. And like, again, just being a little more, like putting in a little more effort to get to know the person. That's what you're doing. It's not like a strategy, to like just for a recommendation. It's just about treating the other person like a person. and like getting to know them, and they'll sense that if it's genuine.
I love that. I think that's it exactly right. A lot of you ninth graders are a little bit scared to, and intimidated to talk to teachers, but they're human too, and they want to get to know you as well. So absolutely. Thank you so much, Marie. We're going to go into our raffle now. Pick 2 more winners. Ivorywood is giving away 2 free consultations with Ivorywood counselors. So we're going to go ahead and pick our next 2 winners. By the way, if you guys have not signed up for the lottery, there's actually a link, a Google form link that we put up there, so you guys can go to that link and sign up. Our first winner is Color Moon 6. Remember, we took out the email addresses at the very end, the @ email. So Color Moon 6, congratulations, you win from Ivorywood, and they will be reaching out to you guys to schedule that meeting. Next person, let's see who the winner is. Let's see. ECM909. ECM909, congratulations. You are our second winner. And thank you to Marie once again for joining us from Ivorywood and giving us so many great information about private school admissions. We're going to go on a short commercial break, and we will be right back with our next speaker. Bye.
AGM은 미국 내 최고 수준의 학자금 재정 프로그램과 아이비 대학 연구진의 ARIP AI 인공지능 인턴십 프로그램을 운영하고 있습니다. 아이비 출신의 최고 강사진이 직접 지도하는 과외 프로그램과 글로벌 리서치 프로그램으로 자녀의 성적 향상을 책임집니다.
미주 최초로 자체 개발한 고객관리 시스템과 1,900개 대학 이상의 각종 데이터베이스를 여러분과 공유하겠습니다.
지금 바로 웹사이트에 방문해 보세요. 자녀의 미래가 달라집니다.
My name is Ryan. I am a director of A1 College Consulting. High school students have a very hard time putting their application together. It can be very intimidating to find what they want to study. First, we start with analysis. Second, personal development. Lastly, we at A1 College Prep help students with the application A through Z.
Hi guys, welcome back. We are going to go into our next speaker now. We're moving from college admissions, UCs, and private schools now to financial aid. And I want to introduce our next speaker. He is the president and CEO of AGM Institute. He is a senior college financial aid specialist, former Wachovia Bank vice president and financial planner, and he has written over 1,200 columns for financial aid columnists. He'll be speaking about maximum college grant and scholarship with college admission planning. Welcome, Mr. Richard Myung.
Hello, everyone. College financial aid is one of the key to success to achieve your academic goal during collegehood. So my name is Richard Myung, and I'm going to introduce you the most important key factors within a very limited given time. I provided a lot of slides for your reference because you are going to replay all these the recorded YouTube materials. But I will try to concise all the presentation within 20 minutes for the 2-hour materials. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to get focused on college financial aid, especially how to improve the most eligibilities in a most efficient way. So we have to understand about who is eligible for the college financial aid. And the eligibility is based on need basis. And first of all, students' status is a very important matter, and parents' status would not be a big concern at all. Even undocumented or even foreigners, it doesn't matter. They can even use foreign income and asset information to apply for college financial aid. And the GPA is very important thing. Should keep more than 2.0 out of 4.0 scale. You know how difficult to get lower than 2.0. So everybody has an equal opportunity in financial aid. And government has good wills to support everybody's academic success at the schools they dream of. And also, drug record must be a very important matters in the past, but especially starting this year, and I couldn't see any further the questions, especially during FAFSA. But unless anyone who was a dealer experience, and everybody has equal opportunities to apply for college financial aid. And also international students and also DACA or undocumented students, it depends on which state you reside in, and state financial aid grant packages are available. But there are more than 179 schools out there, especially private schools, and offering international student grants. So please never give up. And this is really important slides. And as you do see, that cost of attendance is including total tuition, room and board, book cost, transportation, fees, personal expenses. So literally everything actually to continue to complete your academic goal. And so student and parents income and asset, and also how many students enrolling the college from this given the household members, and number of household size would be also a great matter to improve your eligibilities. And also net worth of business, it depends on which school you apply for and what formulas are calculated. As you see, the student's income and asset will generate the student's contribution amount based on the formula, financial aid formula. And also all other remaining items will be calculated for parents' financial aid formula, so which will be combined together. So expected family contribution amount is the personal liability of each student's financial support. So there is expected family contribution, in short, is a EFC, and there are three different formulas: federal methodology, institutional methodology, or consensus methodologies. So you have to really check each school you applying will apply what types of financial aid formula. So the differences would be the maximum targeted financial need amount, which will be the 100%, means the 100% of this financial need amount. So it depends on private school, public school, and private. Public school is divided by in-state tuition rate or out-of-state tuition rate. In general, usually about 60 or 72% range of financial need in public school will be provided for the financial aid. And some exceptional case, such as California, due to the Cal Grant A, and their financial aid level is much higher than any other states, like from 82 to 86, or sometimes 89%. And the composition of financial aid is based on gifted aid or self-help. So gifted aid is called grant or scholarship, which will include the merit scholarship or need-based scholarship, both together. So around 55 to 65% range of each given financial aid award will be composed of the gifted aid. And the remaining item is work study or loans, student loans, or parent loans, normally about 35 to 45. But when you apply for out-of-state schools, and it's really disadvantageous because the state has no support to each student's college, whatever cost to be. So usually the tuition rate, the difference to tuition rate is about like a $20,000 to $30,000 because of the lack of state's aid to the school per student. So that amount would not be considered as a total the financial need amount, so that actually your financial aid amount will be very limited in between 23 to 42%. So even though you got admission from out-of-state schools, but due to the heavy financial burdens, then actually you won't be able to, sometimes it's really hard to keep up your studies due to financial burdens. And private schools, usually they have a lot of school endowment fund, so they award you in between 90 to 200%. And also the gifted aid percentage is usually around 70 to 86%. So remaining would be self-help as the same as state schools. So usually you have to get focused on selecting the school based on the private school and also in-state tuition rate state schools. So this is really important, the screen, and please remember you have to strategize in how to select the most efficient way of selecting the school when you apply for. So merit basis and need basis, to make it a little bit clear. So some preferred students will be offered by merit scholarship. It's based on personal talents and relative awards, right? However, this merit scholarship will be included in internal the need basis financial aid as well. Need basis based on, as I told you before, is income asset, how many students are enrolling the college, or how many household size or net worth of business. So when you are offered the merit scholarship, will be included internally under need basis. So you can all those combination of the financial aid would not be exceeded the more than cost of attendance. That is a federal law. And next thing is, college financial aid is not an accumulation method. The composition of a financial aid is based on federal, state, school, and even parents. So if you saved all the money for the kids' college cost, and then which will be considered as a calculation factor of using that amount first. It is an equal opportunity basis. There's no way that actually they could discriminate for your college acceptance because it includes the federal fund. Federal fund is equal opportunity. So even though you apply for financial aid, they won't be able to see all the submitted data until they decide to accept the student. So it is not a given, as I told you, it does not affect the college admission process at all. That is called a need blind policy. It is over 2,900 schools out there. So financial aid formula, you must really understand exactly which college applies what types of financial aid formula. And also college grade and also financial aid award percentage of your need met percent, which is really important thing. And also your prior planning is an essential to maximize your eligibility for the college financial aid. So which is equal opportunity? By the way, the school actually sometimes use financial aid as a marketing strategies, or sometimes to filter out the students for their own preference. So it is equal but not equal. So you have to be really prepared for every like a contingent ways of doing. This is college financial aid procedure, as you do know that, like from few years ago, and the application starts from October the 1st. So as not only FAFSA, but also college financial aid as well. Net price calculator, this is important thing. Since October the 1st, 2010, the Department of Education requires that every school needs to provide a net price calculator on their website for the benefit of parents. But first year, it was very correct because nobody knew exactly the inside the chemistry in detail. By the way, you have to be very careful. Even, other than the local state schools, if you apply for private schools, usually they don't calculate many of your financial asset information or income informations, because if they increase your net price is your cost, then many students would not apply for that school. So school says they got some disclaimer that this may change during the education process or something like that. So you have to really doubt about exact amount that you would be qualifiable for through this net price calculator. Financial aid procedures like a preparation planning and application filing, like a FAFSA assessor profile. Sometimes the school has their own application process as well. And also verification period, you have to use the IDAC system too. So appealing process, because 8 or 9 out of 10 students, they don't even know how much they are under-awarded or mis-awarded more than $3,000 each year, because those numbers are printed as a number on the paper or screen, so you don't really realize how much your financial burden will be increased. So completion of remaining tasks is a very important thing, even though you are given by financial aid kind of student loans or parent loans, and it will be they eliminated it unless you clean up all the MPN process, like a master promissory note or loan counseling courses or something like that. So finalization is really important key to success. So obstacles for financial aid, as I show you, it takes a lot of times to explain whole this screen, but as long as you see the red colored mark like untaxed income or financial assets or property investment or business value, college savings plans would not be favorable for improve your eligibility. It will definitely decrease your eligibilities. So if you see all these screen items, and the most important thing is, here, untaxed income is like whatever you could control by deducting your from your taxes, like a 401k contribution, IRA contribution, Roth IRA. Even though it doesn't show on your tax return, but school will require the tax transcript, which will show all these details. And because you can control, then you will have the same effect, like being confiscated of all these net benefits. And assets, like even though the financial aid formula shows that actually the balance of your retirement account would not be countable, but I really doubt it. Like unless it is not under annuity, but there are two types of IRA, like a brokerage IRA and annuity IRA, right? Unless it is under annuity IRA, those amount you have to really type it in during the questioning process. And I saw that a lot of EFs increase has been happening. So even 529 plan is really poisonous because it will be for the purpose of financial. The 529 plan is for education, so you have to be careful. Requirements of FAFSA, CSS profile, IDAC system is a verification system, and also institutional financial aid application, income verifications, and asset expense verifications, and also negotiation process is one of the key to success as well. And FAFSA application and state deadlines, you could see that each yearly basis, you can access even paper version of this FAFSA. FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. And you see that there is a state deadlines are listed, but schools' priority deadline is the most important key that you need to keep on. And this is a CSS profile on a College Board site. The reason CSS profile is being asked because FAFSA consists of only less than 106 questionnaire would not be enough information at all, especially for the private schools awarding $30,000 to $50,000, $60,000 grants. So they want to know more about your income and assets. So CSS profile actually asks you close to about 360 questionnaires. So you have to be really careful because there are very limited correction opportunities. IDAC system is like a verification system. As long as the school is a member of like a CSS profiling and also IDAC members, and you can consolidate those schools by when you submit verification information and by uploading to their site. So college admission and financial aid is the two different things. Like a financial aid could not influence admission process. Absolutely not. This is a need blind policy, but college admission could influence your financial aid because they will give more financial aid when they prefer the students to enroll. And financial aid is actually, if you use the strategic selection of college code when you submit financial aid, and you can actually take advantage of college admission side because you can let them compare each other, competing each other. So financial college admission also actually gives financial aid. So to make everything really better for your situation, favorable situations, student profile building is important thing, and financial aid preparation is important thing. So important college application is like we saw that like more than 4 million students graduated out of 27,000 high schools. So we have 27,000 valedictorians or second-ranked students, and SJ presidents, editors, and even you see so many SAT high score students are increasing these days due to millennial baby boomer generation. So we have literally about 180 top student levels, but mostly these students will apply for IB schools, but you have to really have the really get focused on top 10 school selects only about 22,000, including all majors. So the key to success is 1% difference, which is like college application. The reason that I'm focusing on this information is because if you make your student profile much stronger and to have the school prefer your students, and you will maximize your college financial aid as well. So this is admission rate. I'm not going to go for many details, but for first top line, Amherst currently this year was a 7%, but only 5 years ago was a 14%. So you could understand, oh, there is a 7% difference, but in reality, actually 50%, because the difference between 7 to 14 is 7. Divided by 14% is actually 50% decrease. So you have to really get focused on admission rate. So we have to understand, this is my favorite screen, and I have used this type of these screens for the next few slides and over 7 or 8 years. Admission process is based on academic index and extracurricular activities and personal qualification. Academic index is like all your scores, right? Related matters. Extracurricular activities, they really want to see you educated by a comprehensive way, not biased way. So personal qualification is your achievement record. So these are college admission factors. Each school could be standardized by comparing this, which will be listed in the college application. So these are the very important admission factors, and according to each colleges. So you have to really strategize the college application to maximize your opportunities. Okay. And taxonomy is a really important key to success, because last year even UC Berkeley got 130,000 applicants, but each admission counselors could review your application on average of 7 minutes, and they could select 18 to 23 applicants in a day usually. So actually they could pick about 25,000 students on the admission counselors tray. So it will be standardized. If you see that all your record will be translated as a point system, this is called taxonomy system. And also the 1 point difference could make 7,000 to 8,000 students pass or failure too. So if you have a little disadvantages in academic scores, then you can maximize your non-academic ways of doing. So I don't have enough time actually to explain all this, but you can ask me later. Even recommendations and essays and all the writing skills. So financial aid, this is not recommended things, then you need to start developing your ideas. First of all, financial aid is based on all income and asset. So there are many different situations, such as a stock, bond, mutual fund, or 401ks, and you must be properly licensed. So do not ask for help from non-professional licensed person, which is one of the key to failure. And so student does not have much terminologies to process the whole thing. So, and also by focusing on a financial aid application is one of the failure, because the content is more important thing. So once your application is submitted, school is not going to take care of it, by themselves. And also income is too high, you can do the pre-planning to maximize your eligibilities, and your income is too low, good luck. When you file $35,000 income, but expense verification period shows like $6,000 to $7,000 a month spent, which will be considered the untaxed income. So college application marked say we don't need financial aid. They are not going to give you any token of financial aid. And these are the mistaking areas, but just to take a screenshot and ask me any questions later. So college financial aid versus college selection is also important thing. And here is an example. And because the selection is really important thing, this family had really have a huge financial burden, even though they were admitted to Yale. And they had to pay almost $38,000 for each one semester. But as you see, after they're making all the corrections and reprocessing and appealing letters, they are paying only $1,338 for this semester. Also, this student was accepted from Washington University, the WashU, as you know, and they got financial assistance $28,550, but was under-awarded. So after doing 3 times the appealing process, they got $39,550, which will make a huge difference. So as your parent point of view, you have to select all the college selections and get all this data, and also provide all the roadmaps, especially before you process your financial aid. So as you see, then this is a college common application practice site. If you go education section, and you will see honors, and you will see also 5 record of achievement record. Why is that? Because of the taxonomy system. So it is really important to build a student's profile to the much stronger in competition and also maximizing financial aid too. So leadership and research, this is actual key screenshot of Georgia Tech this year. As you see, the big difference is added was, if you see that the bottom part is our advice for this portion of application, they say do not overlook research, internship, and also family responsibilities as important contributions. This is really important things to make your profile much stronger as a socially impactful. Sometimes whatever you do in extracurriculars could be only checklist. So this is checklist, but just take a screenshot. If you have any questions further, then just let me know. So financial planning and need map percent, taxed income versus untaxed income, really important keys. And public school grants, you have to really do the preparation, especially before you apply for financial aid. And college admission side, of course, profile building is the key to success. And corporate trust is for business owners only. And you can actually modify all your income in a legal ways and preparation for this. And IRA Roth, all the contribution factors will be, please do not do IRA DRT method, okay? You have to manually input. If not, when you did and you received 1099-R, you will get a trouble. So these are the application side of the FAFSA and investment. They don't use it as the word asset. They use investment. And also, do not include or include, if you see the do not include means that the home you live in, that is for federal formula only. Institutional consensus, they will actually count on every single penny of your primary home equity too. And also the value of life insurance, or like an ABLE account, which is disability saving account or retirement plan balance, would not be countable. So this is a very couple of slides prior to the last the screen. And this family, especially this year, if you see that EFC was at $23,000, but pre-planning actually decrease their EFC amount down to $8,000. So they could receive, they could save their own out-of-pocket money, $15,000, and the difference amount, the Georgetown is currently paying 100% of that amount, and 83% on average is free money. So they could save $12,450 again. So total $27,000, $450 this year they could save. So 8 rules. Last screen you must know. First is financial aid is not an accumulation method, and also is equal opportunity for eligible students, and also it does not influence any college admission process. And also you must understand financial aid formula, and you also, as well as different grid and over the average. So prior planning is an essential, is key to success to maximize your eligibilities. And equal but not equal, as I told you, they give more financial aid for their preferred student to register. The last one is, of course, shall not ask for help. A non-licensed person does not understand exactly internal chemistry associated with all the financial aid formula. So if you have any questions, you can just contact me And I think that's it today.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Richard Myung. I feel like financial aid is a really big part for college admissions, especially because students and parents have to be able to afford college. It's not easy to be able to afford college. So I think that that's really helpful. We have a couple of questions for you that our listeners wanted to see. So the first one was, how do scholarships affect financial aid?
Scholarship is, as I told you before, is a personal, like a preference, the school's preference. Once you receive scholarships, and which will be deducted from your gifted aid portion from need basis. So no one can receive more than the total of cost of attendance. That is a federal regulation. So even though you did not receive any merit-based scholarship, please do not worry about. They are going to give you the on their scale average of financial need for their financial aid package.
Okay, great. And then we had another question from Eugene. How does the GI Bill play in the factor for getting additional scholarships grants for private schools?
It's a good question. GI Bill means that actually you must be an independent student. There are several different questions during FAFSA. If you say yes, one of these informations, and you will be considered as an independent student. Independent student has a little bit different formula. So if you receive a GI Bill, then actually will be deducted from your total financial need amount. So you have to apply for financial aid. But let's say if you received, you have a GI Bill like a 20,000 this year, then actually it will be deducted from your need basis financial aid.
That's interesting. I feel like that's something that people were a little bit concerned about. I have another parent who asked, I have an elementary school child. How should I plan my assets or income for his college funding?
That is a good question. The all is the best because the personal financial planning and also college financial aid is actually like working together. Because if you do the right arrangement all your time, you are not only saving your taxes, but also you are maximizing your whatever the future net dollars that you can spend by avoiding the EFC increase. So sooner is the better, but my best recommendation, if you want to save a lot of taxes on your business or whatever, then you have to start right now. But if you are targeting for just about college financial aid, and it is important to start from 9th grade because admission side is quite heavily involved during this process.
That's good to know. I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old too, so
Wow.
I need to start planning that process. I saw you talk really quickly earlier about appealing, but someone asked, can you appeal your financial aid offer, and how likely do appeals work through the negotiation process?
Yeah. Like when you received less financial aid or under-awarded or mis-awarded, usually try to write a letter to the school first, but that is one of the biggest mistake to start developing because you must understand what information you already submitted. And if you submitted and not efficient way of providing the information, definitely you won't get a good financial aid package. That is the reason why you need to review your application first, and then if you find any types of the mistaken, or as an example, when you use your home equity value, it is totally based on what market value you use, like a fair market value or tax assessment value or federal housing index value, which will make a huge differences in your financial aid. Sometimes it is easily differentiate $2,000 to $3,000 a year. So you have to actually see the review, the application information first. If you find any errors that you can improve better EFC, then you have to do it first and reprocess it, and then you have to strategize the appealing process, because school has a pre-printed rejection letter for the first appeal. So you want to save yours, or you have to strategize how you are going to approach like a first appeal, second appeal, third appeal. But during this process, and actually especially this time of the year, you have to register. So sometimes in all the remaining portion, if your parent made a plus loan, parent loan for undergraduate student at a time, then they have no reasons and actually to go over any appealing process. So that actually you have to make a partial payment plan, something like that, because they don't charge you any interest. And so you have to negotiate it. Normally it takes about 2 to 3 months to make the eligible, the result from the appealing process. That is the strategies.
Lots of strategies for financial aid. So can we do one more question? Okay, so one more question. How does home equity line of credit affect financial aid?
Home equity line of credit setup does not change unless you use it. You have to really take out of a home equity line each in worst case, and actually 5.65% of $100,000 value will be increased by EFC. So you have to maybe reposition those dollars, by planning and for avoidable assets. So you must understand the schools, what types of formula school is applying for. And usually home equity line is subject to their great influence, especially when you apply for private school. But most important thing is even when you have a second home, second property, you have to be very careful. Even though you say, I make nothing because after deducting all the expenses, I have only minus 500. By the way, the school doesn't think in that way. When you receive all the rental cost, you have a choice whether you can use it for financial aid, or you are not only deducting your taxes for expenses, you are paying your internal asset principal portion by saving your asset. So actually it would not be a big favorable. So it depends on school's formula. So you must really double check before you take next steps.
Awesome. Those are really, really great answers. I hope this is helpful for everybody who's looking into financial aid. I feel like this is a lot of people. Financial aid is a big thing for college admission. So thank you again, Mr. Richard Myung. This was super helpful. We're going to go ahead and do our raffle once again. Mr. Richard Myung is offering 2 free consultations to share and provide you with feedback and support with your financial aid situation. So let's go ahead and do our first lottery. See who the winner is. Let's see. Brian_Huang. Just so you guys know, once again, we removed the at Gmail, Yahoo, whatever at the very end, and just took your username or name or ID of your email. So Brian_Huang, congratulations. You received a meeting with Mr. Richard Myung. Let's do one more. See who it's gonna be. Love DBSK. Congratulations. You won the second one. Yay. So excited. We still have 2 more speakers, guys, and 2 more raffles that we're doing. We have A1 and C2 education coming up. So please make sure you stay tuned. We're going to go on a quick commercial break. Thank you again, Mr. Richard Myung. We will talk to you soon. We'll see you guys in a moment. Okay? Bye-bye.
전문적인 리서치와 차별화된 접근 방법, 이경희 이민법 변호사, 투자이민의 EB5의 풍부한 경험에 이경희 변호사와 체계화된 멘토 시스템으로 철저히 교육받은 직원들이 여러분의 이민법 케이스를 도와드립니다.
이경희 변호사 사무실은 한 번 맡은 케이스는 끝까지 책임집니다. 항상 세밀하고 정확한 일처리로 고객분을 성심껏 도와드리겠습니다. 저희 사무실을 믿고 맡겨주시면 여러분의 케이스를 성공으로 이끌겠습니다.
투자이민 전문 이경희 이민법 변호사.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. That was a quick commercial break. Now I'm going to introduce our next speaker. She is the president of A1 College Prep, president of the Hwarang Youth Foundation, and a senior college consultant. She'll be talking to you guys about interdisciplinary dual enrollment. And she is Sarah Park. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming.
저는 A1 칼리지 프랩을 운영하고 있는 세라박입니다. 저희 A1 칼리지 프랩은 1997년부터 지난 25년간 학생들의 학업을 돕고 있었는데요. 이제 와스크 어크리데이션을 받아서 전문적인 교육기관으로서 성장 발전하고 있습니다. 우리 학생들과 어머님들을 직접 뵐 수 있었으면 너무 좋았을 텐데요. 긴 시간 이렇게 줌으로 좋은 정보 얻기 위해서 노력하시는 우리 학생들과 어머님들 응원합니다. 이제 오늘 제가 집중할 이야기는 아카데믹 경쟁력을 높이기 위한 여러 가지 스트래티지에 대해서 말씀을 드리도록 하겠습니다. 오늘 커버할 아젠다는 GPA의 중요성과 어떻게 그것을 올릴 수 있는가, 또 듀얼 인롤먼트란 무엇이고 어떤 베네핏이 있는가, 또 학업 경쟁력을 높일 수 있는 컴피티션이라는 것은 왜 중요하며 어떤 것들이 있는지, 또 아카데믹 액티비티와 리서치와 포트폴리오에 대해서 알아보는 시간을 갖도록 하겠습니다. 이제 팬데믹으로 인해서 입시에 많은 변화들이 있었습니다. 시험을 현장에서 볼 수 없고 많이 캔슬되는 바람에 시험들이 많이 줄줄이 SAT나 ACT들이 테스트가 취소되기도 했고요. 또 그 중에 서브젝트 테스트 시험이 없어지기도 했습니다. 그러면 근데 또 테스트를 블라인드 하는 학교도 있고 옵셔널로 하면서 많은 학생들과 부모님들이 혼란을 겪기도 했고요. 그리고 또한 눈에 크게 띄는 변화는 대학의 그 입학에 대한 경쟁률, 지원자 수가 급격히 늘어나고 또 경쟁률 또한 굉장히 높아졌다는 것이 주목할 만한 변화입니다. 팬데믹으로 인해서 있는 변화로서 SAT를 옵셔널로 넣으라고 했는데 어떤 대학에서는 그것을 어떻게 받아들이고 있는지, 과연 내가 SAT 점수를 넣는 것이 유리한지 혹은 불리한지 이것에 대해서 판단하기가 굉장히 어려운 상황입니다. 그래서 작년에 입시 어떤 레코드를 보자면 유펜 같은 경우는 65%의 지원자가 SAT를 점수를 제출을 한 상황입니다. 그 중에서 또 합격한 학생 중에 87%에 해당하는 학생들은 훌륭한 1520 이상의 좋은 점수를 제출한 학생들입니다. 그렇기 때문에 우리가 또 이 부분을 소홀히 할 수 없는 부분인데, 그러면 또 나 같은 경우는 나는 과연 치르는 것이 그리고 점수를 제출하는 것이 유리한지 아니면 그렇지 못한지 이에 대한 혼란을 겪고 있는 기간이라고 생각합니다. 그리고 얼리를 어플라이 하는 학생들의 숫자가 굉장히 늘어나게 되었어요. 이제 뭐 여러 가지 정보가 많이 다양해졌습니다. 그래서 미리미리 사전에 얼리 찬스를 놓치지 말고 꼭 활용해라. 이런 전문가들의 조언들이 마구 제공이 되면서 많은 학생들이 그 기회를 잘 활용하려고 하는 것들이 늘어났고요. 이제 UC와 또 칼스테이트까지도 급격히 지원자들이 많아졌다는 것. 그러면서 어려워진 것은 상위권 대학의 경쟁력은 점점 더 높아지고 있고 중하위권의 대학에는 이제 그만큼 경쟁자가 줄어들기 때문에 또 들어가기 쉬워진 그런 트렌드들을 볼 수 있습니다. UC 사례를 살펴보면 아까 잘 설명해 주셨는데요. 많은 정보가 있으셨을 겁니다. 저는 그 중에서도 오늘 아카데믹과 관계된 부분만 말씀드리도록 하겠습니다. UC의 경우 UCLA는 지원자가 28%가 증가를 했고요. 그렇게 되면서 합격률은 10.5%가 합격을 하게 됐고요. UC 버클리 같은 경우는 27%가 지원자가 증가를 했고 12%만이 합격을 받았습니다. 그런데 주목할 만한 것은 거기에서 엔지니어링 같은 경우는 합격률이 6%에 지난다고 합니다. 그렇기 때문에 어떤 아이비리그 명문대학과 뒤지지 않을 굉장히 높은 그런 경쟁력을 보이고 있었죠. 그리고 UC의 특이한 점이 무엇이 있었냐면 저희 학생 같은 경우도 뭐 코넬 대학에 얼리로 합격을 했는데 UC에서 한 개도 합격 통보를 받지 못한 특이한 경우도 있었습니다. 물론 그것이 대부분의 경우는 아니고요. 많은 학생들이 그렇지는 않습니다만 이런 경우를 봤을 때 이거는 뭐지? 하고 당황하는 경우들이 있었습니다. 그리고 어머님들도 주변에서 보셨을 거예요. 어떤 아이들은 굉장히 뭐 여러 가지 다양한 과외활동도 좋고 학교 성적도 좋고 여러 가지가 좋은데 이 아이는 어떻게 되지 않았다는 것에 깜짝 놀라기도 하고, 또 다른 아이는 글쎄 특별히 보이는 게 없었는데 그 아이는 여러 군데에서 합격 통보를 받은 그런 경우들도 있었을 거예요. 아마 오늘 전문가들께서 왜 그런 일들이 있는지, 어떻게 준비를 하면 너무 서프라이즈하지 않은 결과를 가질 수 있는지에 대해서 잘 말씀드려 주셨을 거라고 생각을 합니다. 그런데 이렇게 테스트가 옵셔널과 블라인드가 되면서 UC 같은 경우 특히 블라인드가 되면서 우리 학생을 어떻게 선별하고 무엇을 기준으로 하는지에 대해서 많은 사람들이 의문을 갖게 되었을 거예요. 아무래도 GPA에 대한 비중이 많이 높아졌습니다. UCLA의 경우를 볼 경우 상위 25%에서 75%의 학생들의 평균 GPA는 4.17에서 4.31 UC GPA 기준입니다. 그리고 UC 버클리 같은 경우는 25%에서 75% 학생들의 그 GPA가 4.21에서 4.33에 해당하는 그런 점수를 갖고 있기 때문에 우리 학생들이 내가 이 GPA가 아니라면 이 학교에 대해서 좀 경쟁력이 없겠구나, 이런 실망을 할 수도 있습니다. 하지만 GPA만 보고 학생을 뽑는 건 아니고요. 또 어떤 자기가 학문에 대한 열정이나 또 교사와 어떤 코퍼레이션이 잘 되고 한다면 또 다른 경쟁력을 가질 수 있을 것입니다. UC 어드미션은 다른 사립대학과 다른 점이 있죠. 꼭 팬데믹 때문에 테스트가 블라인드로 바뀐 건 아닙니다. 여기 인구 분포도를 봤을 때 절반 이상의 많은 큰 원을 차지하고 있는 이 오렌지 부분이 히스패닉 라티노 그룹입니다. 인구를 얼핏 봐도 55%에 해당하고요. 아시안 같은 경우는 아시안이 여기 9.4%, 필리핀어를 합친다 그래도 11.5%의 인구 분포도인데, 실질적으로 UC를 합격한 학생들을 보면은요, 라티노의 경우에는 여기 위에서부터 불과 35%의 UC 학생들이 라티노에 해당하고요. 아시안 학생들이 인구로서는 9.4%밖에 되지 않지만 합격률이 또 35%를 차지하고 있습니다. 그렇기 때문에 이것을 불평등하다고 생각하는 사람들이 있죠. 라티노 그룹과 블랙 커뮤니티에서는 이것이 불공평하다. 한인이나 백인 학생들 같은 경우들, 아시안 학생 전반적으로 높은 SAT 점수를 갖고 있기 때문에 이 학생들에게 절대적으로 유리한 입시 조건이 아니냐. 그렇기 때문에 이 시험을 폐기해야 된다라는 주장을 오래전부터 해왔고요. 그래서 그걸로 법적인 소송까지 갔고, 그렇기 때문에 보드에서는 이런 SAT 시험을 그러면 철폐하겠다라는 결정을 했습니다. 그런데 이제 우리 학생들은 나는 UC를 지원할 거니까 이제 SAT에 대한 부담감이 없어요. 나는 이제부터 공부 안 해도 돼요. 이렇게 생각하는 학생들이 많기 때문에 제가 참 많은 난감함을 겪습니다. 우리 학생들이 모두 UC만 갈 거라면 그 말이 맞습니다. 하지만 우리가 UC만을 바라보지 않고 사립대학도 생각하는 학생이라면 본인의 경쟁력을 위해서 그런 SAT와 ACT 준비도 철저하게 잘 했을 때에 내가 좋은 여러 곳에서의 합격 통보를 받을 수 있는 기쁨이 있다라는 사실을 유념해 줬으면 좋겠습니다. 자, 그러면 우리의 아카데믹 경쟁력 첫 번째 전략으로서는 GPA 부스트입니다. 학교 GPA는 학교 성적만을 얘기하는 것은 아닙니다. 우리 학생들이 보통 이제 일반 과목에서 A를 받으면 4점이고 이렇게 점수 체계하에 계산을 하면 이제 학교 평점이 나오는데요. 이 생각보다 GPA 계산이 굉장히 다양합니다. 각 학교마다 점수 주는 시스템이 굉장히 달라요. 어떤 학교는 아놀은 4.5점, 그러니까 0.5점을 더 주기도 하고, 또 어떤 학교는 아놀을 들어도 1점을 주기도 하고, 어떤 고등학교는 아놀을 들었는데 똑같이 1점 가산점을 주지 않는 학교도 있습니다. 그래서 모든 학생들이 학교의 트랜스크립을 제시했을 때 대학이 그것만 가지고 계산할 수가 없고요. 그래서 숫자만을 얘기하는 것도 아니고, 또 이렇게 GPA를 말할 때는 항상 그 중요 과목들, 내가 아카데믹 큐리오시티, 학문적인 호기심이 있어서 더 깊이 있게 계속적으로 공부한 그런 좋은 트랜스크립을 갖는 것 또한 굉장히 중요합니다. 그리고 SAT 시험이 철폐되면서 이제 스탠더라이즈 테스트 결과인 AP 시험 결과 또한 굉장히 중요해졌습니다. 그 AP를 몇 개 듣느냐 또도 중요하지만 우리 아이들이 공부를 잘 마치고 우리 학생들이 좋은 4.5점의 좋은 스코어를 보여준다면 대학에서 학생을 선별할 때 이 학생은 학업적 능력이 탄탄한 학생이네 하고 안심하면서 학생을 선별할 수 있기 때문에 이것이 좋은 기준으로 사용이 되고 있습니다. 그리고 그냥 편안하게 레귤러 과목을 듣는 것보다는 도전적인 공부를 한다는 것은 공부 실력도 물론 보여주는 것이지만 또 보여줄 수 있는 것이 내가 학업적인 어떤 호기심이 많기 때문에 계속해서 도전해서 더 배우고 싶어 한다라는 그런 열정을 드러내주기도 합니다. 그리고 이렇게 좋은 트랜스크립을 만들기 위해서는 이제 예를 들어서 제가 9학년 때 나는 엔지니어링에 관심이 있어. 그렇다 그러면 처음에는 인트로 엔지니어링을 듣고 뭐 10학년 때는 11학년 때는 또 어드밴스드 엔지니어링을 듣고 또 12학년 가서는 리서치 메서드를 듣고 이런 식으로 점진적으로 더 높아지는 클래스를 체계적으로 들을 수 있는 전략을 갖는 것도 굉장히 중요할 거라고 생각합니다. 컴퓨터 사이언스도 그렇습니다. 처음 컴퓨터 사이언스를 대할 때는 프린시플을 듣고 그 다음 해에는 AP 컴퓨터 사이언스를 들어주고 그 이후에는 대학 과정의 컴퓨터 사이언스나 더 깊이 있는 다른 코र्스들을 들음으로써 본인의 아카데믹 인트레스트를 꾸준히 개발해 나가는 것이 굉장히 중요하다고 생각합니다. UC를 비롯한 모든 대학들이 학생들의 캐릭터에서 선호하는 것들이 있죠. 자기 주도성을 얼마나 갖고 있느냐, 또 끈기, 또 지속성, 그리고 각 학생의 창의적인 것과 독특함을 얼만큼 보유하고 있느냐에 대해서 좋은 캔디데이트로 평가하고 있습니다. 그렇기 때문에 우리 학생들이 과목을 선택할 때도 내가 다소 힘들다 하더라도 끙 참고 이겨내면서 더 도전적인 클래스로 계속해서 도전해 나갈 수 있는 가이드가 좀 주어지면 좋겠습니다. 그러면 왜 GPA를 올릴 수 있다는 말인가? 그럼 GPA를 올릴 수 있는 방법은 무엇이고 GPA를 올릴 수 있기 위해서 내가 어떤 것들을 치워야 하는가에 대해서 이야기를 해보겠습니다. 학교에서 열심히 잘한다고 했지만 숙제를 할 때 어려움을 겪기도 할 거고 기대 밖의 테스트 성적을 잘 받지 못할 때도 있고 또 선생님의 설명을 잘 이해하지 못해서 좋은 학업 결과를 내지 못하는 경우도 있습니다. 학생들이 와서 종종 하는 말이에요. 선생님이 가르쳐 주시는 게 제가 잘 이해가 안 돼요. 충분히 설명을 듣고 있지 못해요. 그렇기 때문에 제가 따로 공부해야 될 것 같아요. 그런데 이 판단이 너무 늦게 되어서 찾아오는 학생들은 학기 말에 와가지고 이것을 좋은 성적으로 A로 잘 마무리하거나 AP 성적을 5점으로 받지 못하는 경우들이 있습니다. 그랬을 때 이런 아쉬움들을 메꾸기 위해서는 우리에게 세컨 찬스가 주어질 수 있는데요. 그 추가적인 다른 학교 혹은 칼리지에서 이런 과목들을 들을 수가 있고, 그것은 칼리지가 종합적으로 다시 GPA를 환산을 하기 때문에 학생에게 베네핏이 될 수 있다는 부분을 말씀드리고 싶습니다. 이제 듀얼 인롤먼트라는 것이 주어졌어요. 듀얼 인롤먼트는 뭐냐면 내가 다니는 우리 학교 이외에 자기에게 세컨 스쿨이 생기는 거죠. 여러 가지 방법들이 있는데요. 이 듀얼 인롤먼트는 그 전부터 되어졌지만 2000 여기 그래프를 보시면 2002년 기록과 2011년 기록이 있습니다. 그 기간 동안에 이 프로그램에 참석하는 학생이 753% 프로그램이 이렇게 많아졌고, 또 이런 듀얼 인롤먼 프로그램을 제공하는 하이스쿨이 70%에 해당하게 되었고요. 또 이런 하이스쿨이 이런 듀얼 인롤먼트를 추천하고 잘 시행해주고, 그렇기 때문에 이것을 듣는 학생들의 숫자 또한 이렇게 많이 증가하게 되었습니다. 자, 그럼 듀얼 인롤먼트는 어디서 들을 수 있느냐? 대부분의 하이스쿨은 이렇게 지역 커뮤니티 칼리지와 연계가 되어 있습니다. 여기 가까운 세리토스 같은 경우에도, 옥스퍼드 아카데미 같은 경우는 세리토스 커뮤니티 칼리지하고 연계가 되어 있어서 거기서 다 수업을 신청할 수 있고, 또 영교시나 7교시나 이런 때를 이용해서 그 수업을 들을 수도 있고요. 이것을 또 커뮤니티 칼리지를 가서 들을 수도 있고 온라인으로 들을 수도 있습니다. 그리고 지역 커뮤니티 칼리지이기 때문에 학비가 무료일 수 있습니다. 그렇기 때문에 비용 부담도 없고, 내가 궁금하고 더 알고 싶고 배우고 싶은 과목이 하이스쿨에 없기 때문에 이런 학생들이 커뮤니티 칼리지에서 제공하는 더 깊은 내용을 배울 수 있는 수업들을 들을 수 있다는 건 어쩌면 학생들에게 내가 왜 공부를 해야 되는지에 대한 동기를 더 확실하게 해주는 좋은 학습 기회라고 생각을 하는 것입니다. 저희 선생님 중에 이제 여기 가까운 USC 대학의 교수님이 계신데요. 이분이 여름방학이 되기 전에 봄철이면 겨울부터 쭉 바쁘시더라고요. 그래서 이유를 여쭤보니까 USC에서 제공하는 썸머 프로그램에 대한 커리큘럼을 계속적으로 교수들과 의논하고 개발하는 프로그램에 동참하고 계시다는 말씀을 하셨어요. 그래서 제가 왜 대학에서 이렇게 고등학교 학생들을 위한 이런 클래스들을 많이 열고 있는지 여쭤봤어요. 그랬더니 교수님이 말씀하시기를, 고등학교에서는 지난 30년 전에도 가르쳤던 대부분의 트레디셔널한 기본 과목들을 가르치고 있고, 대학에서는 우리 학생들이 처음에 와서부터 배우기 위해서 시작해야 하는 시작점이 있는데 이 사이의 갭이 너무 크다는 거죠. 그래서 이 브릿지 프로그램을 통해서 방학 동안 아이들이 실력을 좀 쌓고 내가 진짜 이 분야를 좋아하는지 경험해 보고 나서 대학을 올 수 있는 기회를 제공하기 위해서 이런 프로그램들을 제공한다고 하셨습니다. 그래서 제가 어렸을 때를 돌아봐도 그렇고, 우리 학생들이 흔히 하는 질문 중에, 예를 들어서 그 어려운 AP 캘큘러스를 공부하면서 왜 미적분을 공부를 하는지 그 이유를 모르고 공부를 할 땐 학생이 굉장히 답답하고 지루하고 머리 아프고 동기가 떨어질 수 있습니다. 그런데 이것을 배우면 어디다 어떻게 사용이 되는지, 내가 이것을 모르면 어떤 것들을 못하게 되는지를 알게 된다면 참고 공부하는 데에도 큰 힘이 될 것이고, 또 예를 들어서 내가 이코노미를 전공하겠다, 비즈니스를 전공하겠다 할 때 그것이 정말 맞는 분야인지에 대한 확신도 없는 상태에서 어떤 메이저를 정해서 어플라이를 해야 된다는 것은 굉장히 부담으로 다가올 수 있는데, 11, 12학년 때 이런 과목들을 대학을 통해서 미리 경험을 한다면 또 내가 지원하는 전공에 더 많은 준비를 할 수 있고 확신을 가짐으로써 스트레스를 줄일 수 있으리라고 생각합니다. 그리고 또한 하이스쿨에서 들을 수 있습니다. 온라인 프로그램들을 선택할 수 있고요. 근데 자기 페이스로 가야 되기 때문에 누가 어떨 때 학교에서 많은 그 공부 양이 있을 때 밀리다 보면 마치지 못하고 어떤 등록 기간이 지나가는 경우들이 있습니다. 저희 애원 칼리지 프랩에서는 이제 앞으로 미래에 대학을 가는 그 지금 고등학교 과정에서 대학을 가는 그 과정을 스텝 바이 스텝 잘 키워주기 위한 교육 방침을 갖고 있기 때문에 저희가 이름도 칼리지 프랩인데요. 그래서 이제 원온원으로 온라인으로 혹은 인펄슨으로 그룹으로 함께 들을 수 있는 다양한 듀얼 인롤먼트 코스를 준비하고 학생들을 교육하고 있습니다. 그렇다면 이것은 하는 학생들에게만 어떤 페이버를 주는 것일까요? 저는 그것이 의문이었습니다. 가정이 유복하거나 또 부모님이 서포트가 좋은 학생들만 듀얼 인롤먼트를 한다면 이것 또한 불공정한 입시 제도라고 평가를 받지 않겠는가. 그래서 많은 조사를 해봤는데요. 이 듀얼 인롤먼트를 통해서 대학 수준의 공부를 미리 한 학생들은 스스로 그 교재를 읽고 이해하고 탐구하는 훈련이 잘 돼 있기 때문에 이런 학생들이 대학에 가서 나타내는 퍼포먼스가 훨씬 더 높고 또 어떤 좋은 성공률을 갖고 있다라는 그런 결과가 있기 때문에 정부 측에서도 교육국에서도 대학에서도 장려하는 프로그램이라는 것을 알게 되었습니다. 그리고 이렇게 대학에서의 코스 혹은 다른 온라인 스쿨에서 저희 같은 기관에서 이런 수업을 들은 학생들은 그것을 학교 트랜스크립에 가져가서 넣어주느냐, 이게 참 많이 궁금하실 텐데요. 그렇게 해주는 학교들이 많이 있습니다. 사립학교들은. 그런데 또 공립학교 중에서도 해주는 학교가 있지만 그건 학교 재량으로서 이 일은 하지 않겠다, 내가 이 클래스를 독려하지 않는다, 뭐 이런 학교들도 정책적으로 하는 학교들 소수 있습니다. 그런데 본인이 이것이 자기 학교에서 받아주지 않는다 하더라도 UC 어플리케이션 아까 공부하셨죠? 커먼 어플리케이션 공부하셨죠? 거기 보이면 내가 다닌 학교 이외에 다른 학교에서 들은, 학교 바깥에서 들은 과목들에 대해서 차곡차곡 입력을 하고 그렇게 되면 대학에서 이 전체적인 GPA를 리캘큘레이트 할 수 있는 그런 시스템들이 만들어져 있기 때문에 그 부분들을 잘 활용할 수 있는 것입니다. 이렇게 듀얼 인롤먼트를 하는 것에 어떤 학생들은 이런 부분을 활용을 합니다. 대학 학비가 비싸요. 그래서 대학을 4년을 다니지 말고 3년을 다니자. 그럼 학비가 몇만 불이 절약이 된다 하는 학생들은 고등학교 때부터 부지런히 이 코스를 들어서 시간과 돈을 절약하겠다 하는 학생들도 있고, 또 GPA를 부스터하기 위해서 하는 학생들도 있습니다만, 지금 많이 추천되는 것 중에 하나가 칼리지 익스피리언스를 미리 쌓음으로써 어떤 칼리지를 가기 전에 준비되어져야 되는 나의 공부 스킬, 나의 관심 분야에 대한 점검, 이런 부분에 있어서 더 많이 활용되고 있습니다. 네, 그리고 연구 결과에 의하면 이렇게 듀얼 인롤먼트를 통해서 따로 공부를 더 많이 한 학생들이 대학을 마치고 대학원을 진학을 하거나 혹은 거기서 대학 안에서의 더 좋은 GPA를 받거나 이럴 때 성공률이 9%가 더 높다라는 이런 연구 결과도 발표되어져 있습니다. 자, 이제 GPA에 대해서 또 다른 듀얼 인롤먼트에 대해서 알아봤고요. 여기서 한숨을 돌리고 이제 다른 주제로 넘어갑니다. 컴피티션인데요. 우리가 대학 원서를 쓸 때에 12학년들을 보면서 느끼는 부분이 있어요. 항상 우리 학생들이 비슷비슷한 발렌티어를 하기도 하고 또 학교에서 비슷비슷한 과목도 듣고 또 어떤 아이는 운동을 출중하게 잘하기 때문에 그게 나의 어떤 경쟁력이 되기도 하고 그림을 더 잘 그리기 때문에 경쟁력이 되기도 하고 각기 다양한 경쟁력을 보여줄 수 있는데요. 제가 한인 학생들에게 느낀 부분은 아카데믹 컴피티션 부분을 좀 더 강하게 보여줄 수 있다면 좋은 캔디데이트이 될 수 있지 않는가 하는 것을 느끼게 되었습니다. 이제 자신이 관심 있는 분야에 대해서 좀 더 자유 시간이 주어질 때 좀 더 자기가 파보는 그런 시간이 될 건데요. 이제 GPA와 SAT, ACT 이외에 그리고 AP 과목 이외에 아카데믹한 강점을 보여줄 수 있는 것으로서 가장 좋은 것 중에 하나가 컴피티션인데요. 한국 부모님들이 가장 많이 아시는 것 중에 뭐 아메리칸 매스 컴피티션이라든지 사이언스 볼이라든지 이런 것들이 있다. 요즘에 이제 많이 알려져서 라이팅 컴피티션에 도전하시는 분들도 굉장히 많아졌는데요. 그 이외에도 다양한 대회들이 있으니까 한번 살펴보도록 하죠. 자, 여기 요즘 스템으로 가장 각광받고 있는 대학이 뭐 MIT 이외에도 뭐 카네기 멜론 이런 대학이 있는데요. 이런 대학에서는 입학 그 지원서에 이런 질문이 따로 있어요. AMC 컴피티션을 해본 적이 있느냐, 언제 했냐, 결과는 어땠냐 이런 것들이 있습니다. 그것은 뭐냐면 이런 컴피티션을 공부한 학생들은 어떤 능력이 있냐면 문제 해결 능력이 굉장히 뛰어나요. 그렇게 수학을 숫자적으로 푸는 것에 그치지 않고 이 컨셉을 이용을 해서 어떤 문제를 해결할 수 있는 능력이 키워졌기 때문에 사고력과 논리력이 굉장히 깊습니다. 그리고 듣기로 그 엔지니어링과 또 코딩 이런 것들을 이렇게 고급 수준으로 올라갈 때에는 그 높은 수학의 지식과 또 뛰어난 수학 능력이 더 발전할 수 있는데 아주 중요한 기본 핵심 툴이 된다고 하기 때문에 그 수학을 아주 잘하는 학생들이 할 수 있는 일이 이제 변화하는 세상 속에서 굉장히 많아졌습니다. 그래서 이런 질문들이 있다는 거 한번 보시고요. 이 이외에 그럼 어떤 대회들이 있는지 제일 학교에서 많이 하는 것 중에 하나가 아카데믹 디캐틀런입니다. 아카데믹 디캐틀런 이 지역에서 유명한 학교가 있죠. 이제 그라나다 힐스 하이스쿨 같은 경우인데요. 아카데믹 디캐틀런은 학교에서 이제 지도 선생님이 있으셔야 하고 GPA가 상위권 3.75에서 4.0 되는 학생, 3.75에서 3.0 되는 학생, 3.0에서 그 이하인 학생들의 그룹을 셋 이렇게 모아서 팀워크로 하게 됩니다. 이렇게 팀워크로 공부를 하고 대회를 나갈 때는 압박감이 있고 또 어떤 나 혼자 열심히 해서 되지 않는 부분도 있는데 이런 것들을 하면서 팀워크 스킬도 늘어나고요. 그래서 아카데믹 디캐틀론 이외에도 컨라드 스피릿 오브 인바이러먼털 챌린지라든지 기타 다양한 좋은 대회들이 많이 있고요. 지금 화면에서 보시는 대회들은 이제 내가 전 과목을 다 잘하지 않아도 수학을 잘하지 않아도 내 관심 분야를 파서 내가 할 수 있는 것들이 있습니다. 예를 들어서 가운데 보시면 글로벌 그 인베스트먼트 컴피티션이 있는데 이것 같은 경우는 이제 유펜 대학에서 주최하는 거고요. 그룹에 4명에서 7명 짜가지고 하는 건데 내가 진짜 비즈니스에 관심이 많은 학생이라면 수학 경시대회나 라이팅 경시대회가 아니라 하더라도 이런 것, 그 다음에 엔지니어링도 또 라이팅도 이런 다양한 대회들이 많이 있다는 부분을 참조하시면 좋겠습니다. 그리고 이제 세 번째 스트래티지는 아카데믹 포트폴리오를 키우는 것입니다. 자, 저희가 인터디스플리너리 스터디라고 오늘 주제가 나갔었는데요. 이것은 뭐냐면 우리 학생들이 학교에서 교실에서 배우는 것 이외에도 내가 관심 있는 분야를 계속해서 파서 나가는 것을 이야기합니다. 네. 그래서 앞으로 어떤 그 과외 활동을 할 때에 그 단지 어떤 커뮤니티 서비스나 스포츠 이외에 아카데믹 액티비티를 통해서 본인의 레주메를 개발시킬 수 있는 다양한 활동들을 추천합니다. 그리고 이렇게 다양한 아카데믹 서티피케이트도 딸 수 있습니다. 그리고 요즘 많이 화두가 되고 있는 리서치가 있죠. 리서치를 하다 보면 아이들이 개인적으로 지적 발달도 생기고 또 대학에서 필요한 학업 기술 능력도 자라나게 되고요. 그 이외에도 그룹으로 같이 할 수 있는 네트워크도 구축할 수 있고 대학에 갈 때에 많은 경쟁력을 줄 수 있습니다. 왜냐하면 깊은 학문적 관심을 보여주기 때문이죠. 그리고 이외에도 포트폴리오로 이제 비즈니스나 파이낸스나 메디칼이나 본인이 좋아하는 분야의 포트폴리오를 개발할 수 있습니다. 저희 A1 칼리지 프랩에서는 다양한 학생들의 대학 입학 준비를 도와주고 있습니다. GPA를 부스트할 수 있는 와스크 어크리데이티드된 다양한 AP 과목 이외에 다른 칼리지 프랩 코र्스들을 가지고 있고 또 이렇게 엑스트라 커리큘러 활동을 개발하는 아카데믹 엑스트라 커리큘러를 개발할 수 있고 또 칼리지 카운슬링을 같이 하고 있습니다. 대표적인 코र्스로는 뉴로 사이콜로지컬 사이언스라든지 뭐 데이터 스트럭처는 알고리즘이라든지 트래디셔널하게 본인의 학교에서 배우지 않는 그런 과목들도 커버하고 있습니다. 혹시 더 자세한 내용이 궁금하신 부분이 있으시다면 연락 주시면 대답해 드리도록 하겠습니다.
네, 너무 감사합니다. 너무 잘하셨어요. 많은 정보를 너무 많이 주셔서 너무 감사하고요. 저희 질문들이 좀 있어서 제가 한번 볼게요. 질문, 커뮤니티 칼리지에서 들었던 수업은 고등학교 성적표에 안 들어가나요? 그럼 어떻게 GPA가 계산되나요? 라는 질문이 왔습니다.
네, 커뮤니티 칼리지에서 들은 과목은 대부분의 학교에서는 학교 트랜스크립트에 넣어줍니다. 하지만 그렇지 않은 학교들도 있고요. 그럴 경우 대학 입학 지원서, UC 지원서 혹은 커먼 앱 지원서에 이것을 입력할 수 있도록 되어 있고 그러면 그것이 대학별로 환산이 되어서 그 환산된 GPA가 본인의 GPA로서 대학에서는 심사를 하게 됩니다.
감사합니다. 그러면 만약 AP를 11학년에 4개를 듣게 되면 적어도 2개는 B를 받을 것 같습니다. 이럴 때는 AP를 조금 듣는 것이 좋을까요?
네, 너무 무리한 것을 많이 듣게 될 경우 4개, 5개, 6개 듣다 보면 이제 시간 관리도 힘들고 스트레스도 많이 받다 보면 전체적으로 다운될 수 있어요. 그렇기 때문에 지나치게 무리해서 듣는 것보다는 자신 있게 즐겁게 공부할 수 있는 과목 숫자를 맞춰서 공부하는 것도 좋은 방법이고요. 또 이런 여름방학이나 어떤 겨울방학을 이용을 해서 한 과목 더 공부하는 것도 좋은 방법이라고 추천합니다.
감사합니다. AP는 몇 개 정도 들어야 탑 15 정도의 학교에 들어갈 수 있나요?
네, 이제 그것은 학교마다 조금 다른데요. 대학에서는 각 학교에 그 스쿨 레코드가 같이 제공이 됩니다. 어떤 학교는 AP를 뭐 15과목 제공하는 학교도 있을 거고 어떤 학교는 AP 자체가 5개밖에 제공이 안 되는 학교도 있어요. 그랬을 때의 탑 퍼센티지로 가장 그 학교에서 제공하는 걸 많이 잘 잘 들은 학생들이 아무래도 유리하고요.
맞아요. 그리고 아까 좀 대회에 대해서 얘기를 하셨는데 어떤 학생이 대회를 준비하고 싶은데 시간이 별로 없대요. 그래서 유사코나 AMC는 얼마나 미리 준비를 해야 되는지.
이제 갑자기 11학년에 와서 AMC 12를 준비할 경우 되는 학생들도 있습니다만 사실은 AMC 10, 12 이런 게 쉽지는 않고 오랫동안 뭐 인도 학생, 중국 학생들이 꾸준히 많이 준비를 해서 더 뛰어난 성적을 가진 학생들이 많기 때문에 그 시험을 앞두고 뭐 몰입해서 공부하는 거는 뭐 몇 개월이 될 수 있습니다만은 이런 플랜은 9학년 때부터 미리미리 혹은 8학년 이전에 7학년 때부터 미리미리 우리 아이가 수학에 두각을 보인다 하면 그때부터 꾸준히 준비를 해주는 것이 아무래도 수상을 할 기회가 높다고 봅니다. 네.
그리고 리서치가 중요하다고 하는데 리서치는 혼자 준비해도 괜찮을까요? 아니면 다른 전문가 도움을 받아야 할까요?
혼자 하는 것도 의미는 있습니다. 분명히 아이들 에세이에 쓸 때도 쓸 수 있고 또 본인의 포트폴리오를 만들 수도 있습니다만 기본적으로 일반적으로 말하는 리서치는 팀으로 구성해서 지도 교수님이 있고 그것에 모든 것을 충족을 하고 퍼블리시를 했을 때 리서치를 이해하시는 경우들이 많기 때문에 그것을 기준으로 말씀드린다고 하면 혼자 가능합니다만은 여러 가지 부담감이 있을 거예요. 처음부터 끝까지를 내가 혼자 다 연구해야 되고 교수님과 1대1로 또 이 지도를 받는 것 또한 쉽지는 않기 때문에 아무래도 같은 흥미가 있는 그룹들을 짜서 같이 연구를 한다면 이제 사이드 러닝이 이루어지기 때문에 재미도 있고 또 깊이 있게 폭넓은 연구 결과를 만들어낼 수 있을 거고 또 비용 부담도 이제 나누어서 낼 경우 한 학생이 지불해야 되는 부담도 많이 줄어들 거라고 생각합니다.
성적도 중요하지만 활동도 중요한데 어떻게 밸런스를 맞춰야 할까요?
네, 이것이 굉장히 어렵죠. 예술입니다. 네, 그렇지만 그렇기 때문에 너무 무리한 계획을 짤 수는 없어요. 제가 하이스쿨 학생들과 오랜 기간 생활을 하고 있는데요. 시간은 없지는 않아요. 사실 이제 본인이 얼마나 빨리 지치느냐인데 내가 흥미 있는 부분 너무 재밌는 거라면 하루에 30분 1시간씩을 꾸준히 일주일에 2시간 3시간씩을 꾸준히 낸다면 이것을 충분히 할 수 있다고 봅니다. 리서치도 가능하고요. 컴피티션 준비도 솔직히 얘기해서 일주일에 2~3시간씩만 따로 시간을 분배한다면 충분히 가능한 일이기 때문에 시간이 없다라고 하실 때에 좀 그 부분 생각하셨으면 좋겠고요. 또 액티비티라는 것도 남들이 한다고 다 따라 하다 보면 이렇게 컴피티션 시간이 없어지기 때문에 액티비티조차도 나에게 정말 의미가 있는 것들을 위주로 하고 그렇지 않은 것들은 과감하게 정리를 하면서 이런 경시대회나 본인의 포트폴리오를 준비하는 것을 저는 추천해 드리겠습니다. 네.
너무 감사합니다. 도움이 많이 될 것 같아요. 결론적으로는 시간은 만들 수 있다. 이렇게 얘기하신 것 같은데, 아무튼 너무 감사하고요. 저희가 이제 A1에서도 2명을 뽑아서 이제, free consultation을 해줄 거니까, let's go ahead and go to the lottery. Let's pick 2 more people here. Let's see. Who is our first winner for A1 college prep? Let's see. Chris AVP, CHRIS AVP. Congratulations. Remember, we left out the email from there. So congratulations. We're so excited. You have a free consultation with A1 college prep. Let's do another raffle for our second winner. Okay. We're almost there. Let's see. Congratulations, Goody Kim, GOODYKIM. You won the second free consultation with A1 College Prep. Once again, thank you so much to Sarah, Miss Sarah Park. She gave such great information to everybody. We're going to have one last speaker, so stay tuned. We're going to go on a quick commercial break. We will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Hope. It dreams big, like really, really big. Hope sees potential when others don't. Whoa! And it can see the future. Hope is the boss of its money, but it knows what really matters. Hope is day one. Hope is everywhere you look. At Bank of Hope, we have the tools, guidance, and you got it, hope for whatever you want to achieve. So come in. Welcome to Bank of Hope.
welcome back, everyone. We are on that final speaker. Can you believe it? All those hours. We're almost at the end here. We always save the best for last. So we have the district manager from C2 Education and the center director from C2 Education, Ms. Yuna Chung. She will be talking about the roadmap, smart navigation for academic success. So let's put all of our attention and all of our energy to our final speaker for today as we finish up. And without further ado, let's welcome Ms. Yuna Chung.
정유나입니다. 오늘은 이 강의는 기본적인 영어로 진행이 될 거고요. 또 한국 학부모님과 학생들을 위해 또 필요하시면 가까운 지역 저희 C2 센터로 연락하시면 잘 안내해 드리도록 하겠습니다. A new academic year is new opportunity, which is why we always recommend our students engage in some valuable self-reflection and set great goals for new school year. Let's talk about ways that you can make this your best academic year. We're going to start by talking about self-reflection. What is self-reflection and why is it important? And how do you do it? Next, we will talk about setting SMART goals that put you on the path to success. And finally, we will talk about some of the most common academic resolutions and how you can achieve them. The questions you should consider when you sit down to assess yourself fall into 3 buckets. First, what's working? What were your biggest wins and how did you achieve them? What is your greatest strength? Second, what is not working? What did you struggle with and what did you have done differently to solve the problem? If there was one thing you would have done differently this year, what would that be? And finally, and most importantly, what's next? How would you use your strength and address your weaknesses to set and meet new goals? Everyone has strengths and weaknesses, and knowing what they are can help you to success going forward. For example, perhaps you're a really organized student and you never lose or forget assignments. Writing comes naturally to you and you particularly love essay assignments. And you almost always get good grades in homework and in class assignments. But you're not still getting grades that you want because you struggle to score well on tests and quizzes and find yourself easily distracted in class or while studying. If this describes you, then there are few things to consider more deeply. First, what is the disconnect between assignments you're doing well on and tests you're doing poorly on? Are the assignments not helping you to learn the materials? Or is it the testing anxiety that's tripping you up? Is there any way to improve your study practices? The answers to all of these questions can help you to fix the problems in the future. I am sure you have heard the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results. Self-reflection is how you break the insanity cycle. Unless you have magically perfect the art of learning, and there's always room for improvement. And the first step for improvement is to assess what is working and what isn't. Self-assessment requires that what you think about how you learn, identify the things that can improve, and brainstorm ways to leverage your strength so that you can become more self-aware. And when you are more self-aware, you can better respond to challenges and meet your goals. Once you have a good idea of what problems to solve, you will be ready to start setting clear goals. To make your academic resolution actually stick, make them SMART goals. When I say SMART goals, I don't mean that your goal should be intelligent, though of course it'll be preferable. Instead, I'm referring to acronym SMART, which describes as a strategy for goal setting. And SMART goals are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. First, consider what is exactly that you want to achieve. Don't attempt to be general. Be very specific. Instead of aiming for better grades, get more granular and look for an A in chemistry class. Next, think about how you will measure your progress. Be sure to give yourself some specific metrics which can evaluate your success. Next, honestly, ask whether your goal is realistic. Unreasonable goals are doomed to failure from the very start, so start small and work your way up. For example, if you're doing SAT prep and you've stuck at 1200 for a long time, it's probably not very realistic to set the goal of getting 1500 by next month's test date. Your goal should be challenging but realistically attainable based on your available bandwidth. Next, consider whether the goal is truly relevant to you. Consider writing down a list of reasons why it's important for you to achieve the goals so that you can refer back to it if you need to boost your motivation. And finally, SMART goals should be time-bound. Open-ended goals have no sense of urgency to them, and goals that lack a clear timeline are too easy to put off. Create a clear plan for when you will accomplish each step as you work towards your goals, your overall goals. Now let's go ahead and take a look at academic resolutions. As we are going back to school, for all grades, enrichment and accelerated learning for middle, high school, college readiness is critical. Evaluate aptitude in core subjects such as English and math, and identify the needs from the student to move them forward for learning gaps and activities. And review the plan to prepare for middle, high school success. Now for freshmen and sophomores. It's time to begin college profile planning. Identify APs, honors, and IB courses to take, and begin early test preparation for PSAT 8 and 9, PSAT, NMSQT, SAT, or ACT. Apply to competitive pre-college summer programs such as Johns Hopkins CTY or Cosmos. For athletes, plan timeline to meet criteria. For our freshmen and sophomores, we need to explore clubs and other activities, as students should have between 10 and 20 hours of extracurricular commitments on a weekly basis. Now for our juniors. Demonstrate interest and conduct college research. Consider dual role of demonstrate interest, which can be differentiating factors in admissions. It also helps students better understand the culture, mission, and academic of given school, and set specific target to goals for various activities and school. It's also time to determine a test prep plan for SAT, ACT, and APs. For October PSAT, which is coming up, it's valuable not only for practice, but also for its role in scholarship eligibility. Juniors should have at least one SAT or ACT score taken between August and December of their junior year. AP exam scores are considered by colleges that are test blind, like UCs. Now for our seniors, it's time to finalize the application timeline. Which school would you apply and when? And what kind of steps do you need to take to meet those deadlines? Request for letter of recommendations, as students should request letter of recommendations early, and continue to spend time on college essays. Essays continue to rise in importance of college admission decisions. Students should work with our tutors to refine and perfect their essays. As we review the academic timeline, academic resolution for all grades, I would like to share some of our C2 alumni profile. As you can see, these students start taking chemistry honors starting of 9th grade summer, and took 4 honors as freshmen, and took 2 honors and 3 AP courses in sophomore year, followed by 4 APs and 2 honors. And finally, the student took numerous APs in senior year and end up with overall weighted GPA with 4.81. And these are the AP scores that the student received, which is multiple 5s, 4s, and 3. While the performance in tough classes shows a lot about the student's day-to-day abilities, AP exam scores demonstrate the ability to perform under pressure. These tough exams do relatively good job for showing subject matter expertise, but more importantly, they show colleges that the student was able to handle the exam that are comparable to college finals. To put APs in college admission contact, I would like to leave with you this quote from Harvard College's Guide to Preparing for College. Most of all, we look at for students who makes their most of their opportunities and the resources available to them, and who are likely to continue to do so throughout their lives. We believe that you should prepare for college by mastering certain subjects and skills. You should demonstrate your proficiencies in these subjects by taking AP and IB exams. Activities. These are the awards, work experience, volunteer activities, extracurricular activities, and leadership activities. Now be smart on choosing the right activities. It's not all about the number of activities, but it's critical to have relevant activities, which could add color to the story at the end. Now, I would like to share another alumni, especially for athletes. They have to have strong academic competencies much earlier in order to play and be successful in their college journey. let's go ahead and review the student's academic timeline. This C2 scholar athlete started their C2 journey at the beginning of freshman year and focused on enrichment and accelerated learning for reading comprehension and writing. As this student heavily focused and maintained high performance on honors geometry and honors biology throughout the year, this athlete researched for summer camp opportunities and completed application. After summer camp, the student continued to focus on managing the school courses, especially for Algebra 2 and Trigonometry honors, and Chemistry honors, and began test prep along with upcoming summer application. In junior year, while attending the summer camp, the students start review for upcoming APs and intensive test prep for PSAT in October, as well as upcoming real SAT, and continue to balance with sports and academics. With multiple APs and other extracurricular activities, this athlete started AP preparation beginning of the second semester of junior year. And finally, in senior year, focusing on finalizing the college major selection along with college list, and while attending final summer camp, this student primarily worked on college essays for upcoming college application process. With this academic timeline and guidance, and the profile of 11 AP honors and AP courses, 4.2 weighted GPA, 1520 on SAT before the second semester of junior year, and joining school golf team and national participant, we're pleased to share UPenn Class of 2026. At C2 Education, we support students in every step along the path to college, from building better study skills to college planning and test prep. Every C2 program is customized to meet each student's unique needs, and our dedicated tutors and our experts are in subject areas. So here at C2, we typically start with a diagnostic evaluation to identify their strengths and weaknesses and provide a personalized, individualized program. And our teachers, they're not high school students or college students, they're all graduates. We make sure that they have academic background. And most importantly, we monitor their progress to make sure that they're on the right path. If you want help making this academic year your best year yet, contact your local C2 centers and we will answer your questions about setting academic goals and build your own academic timeline for your success at C2 Education. 그리고 오늘 함께 해주신 학생들과 학부모님들께 저희 C2 Education에서는 무료 진단검사와 상담을 드리고요. 경품에 추첨되신 학생에게는 시험과 상담 후에 리뷰 세션을 제공합니다. 언제든 궁금하신 점 있으시면 가까운 지역 C2 Education 센터로 연락 주시고요. 이상 C2 Education 정윤아였습니다. 감사합니다.
Thank you, Miss Yuna. That was so helpful. I hope it was very helpful for all of our listeners to listen about making SMART goals and what it looks like for you to navigate throughout your high school journey. So we're going to go ahead and do our final lottery, our raffle actually. And Yuna did let us know what she is offering with C2. It's a test, a diagnostic, and a consultation thereafter. So let's go ahead and see who our last two winners are. Let's see our first one. Who's it gonna be? Let's see. We're almost there. Just a couple more seconds. Eugene Park's mom. Eugene Park's mom is the email address. Eugene Park's mom. Congratulations. You won for C2 education. And we're doing our last winner. I can't believe we're already on our last raffle right now. But let's see who our last raffle winner is. We're almost done. We're almost there. Charles New Star. Charles New Star, congratulations. You are our final winner for the Korea Times College Expo with C2 education. Okay, the time has come to an end. We did our last speaker. Thank you to all of our speakers and sponsors for making this year's Korea Times College Expo happen. To our main sponsor, Admission Masters, and we'd also like to thank Ivorywood, AGM Institute, A1 College Prep, and C2 Education. Supporting this year's event, 이경희 변호사, Pava World, 화랑 청소년 재단, and 한국어 진흥 재단. And thank you to all of you for being there with us today. I hope today was helpful in receiving information about college admissions and financial aid. And here we are. This concludes the 13th Korea Times College Expo. Thank you all once again for joining us and have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Bye-bye.
Hope. It dreams big, like really, really big. Hope sees potential when others don't. Whoa! And it can see the future. Hope is the boss of its money, but it knows what really matters. Hope is day one. Hope is everywhere you look. At Bank of Hope, we have the tools, guidance, and you got it, hope for whatever you want to achieve. So come in. Welcome to Bank of Hope.
AGM은 미국 내 최고 수준의 학자금 재정 프로그램과 아이비 대학 연구진의 ARIP AI 인공지능 인턴십 프로그램을 운영하고 있습니다. IB 출신의 최고 강사진이 직접 지도하는 과외 프로그램과 글로벌 리서치 프로그램으로 자녀의 성적 향상을 책임집니다.
미주 최초로 자체 개발한 고객관리 시스템과 1900개 대학 이상의 각종 데이터베이스를 여러분과 공유하겠습니다.
지금 바로 웹사이트에 방문해보세요. 자녀의 미래가 달라집니다.
My name is Ryan. I am a director of A1 College Consulting. High school students have a very hard time putting their application together. It can be very intimidating to find what they want to study. First, we start with analysis. Second, personal development. Lastly, we at A1 College Prep help students with the application A through Z.
My primary goal for coming to C2 was to maximize my SAT and ACT. C2 helped me get into the program that I want and fulfill my dreams of becoming a doctor.
전문적인 리서치와 차별화된 접근 방법, 이경희 이민법 변호사, 투자이민의 EB5의 풍부한 경험에 이경희 변호사와 체계화된 멘토 시스템으로 철저히 교육받은 직원들이 여러분의 이민법 케이스를 도와드립니다.
이경희 변호사 사무실은 한 번 맡은 케이스는 끝까지 책임집니다. 항상 세밀하고 정확한 일처리로 고객분을 성심껏 도와드리겠습니다. 저희 사무실을 믿고 맡겨주시면 여러분의 케이스를 성공으로 이끌겠습니다.
투자이민 전문 이경희 이민법 변호사,